Guess what I did? Made fun of Rob last week for the just did it myself to open the show. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson on a Tuesday edition where Florida has been crowned champions. Last night, national championship. Number one, Tolo's out there on this beautiful Tuesday. Did you watch? If so, let us know. What'd you think of it? I thought it was pretty good, especially the ending, right? Not good on the part of Houston, but really good on the part of the Florida Gators, as the Florida Gators, just as we predicted on the show, are crowned national champions. The NCAA March Madness tournament, Diesel, has now come to an end. The experts told you at the very beginning who to pick. Who did we pick? Who was going to cut down the nets? And I love saying it. We were right. We hit that one right on the head as we both picked Florida in our bracket challenge, and several other Tolos did as well. The Florida Gators crowned champions. I have several takeaways, but want to hear from you, Tolos, at 844-326-3663. Diesel, in a game where Florida's best player wasn't their best player, the Gators still find a way to get it done.
Yeah, a huge performance from the rest of the team around them. And, you kind of felt like Florida took Houston's best shot. They took the punches early. Houston was playing excellent in the first half, and when your star doesn't show up, obviously that completely changes your game plan. Yep. And you felt like that Florida had so many opportunities, especially when they were sitting in that down 5-10 range early in the second half, to take this thing over. But they just couldn't get it done. I'll bring it up here in a minute. There was a lot of inside shots that the Florida Gators missed that in a national championship game, you have to hit. And then they were getting fouled on those plays, but not making their free throws. So Florida, I think, could have handled this game from about the 12-minute mark on, but obviously they didn't do that, and it made the ending so much more compelling.
I don't know why this was the case, but just to be quite honest with you, Diesel, I don't think either team played their best last night. I don't think either team really played their best. Look, one played well enough to win the game, right? The other blundered down the stretch. It was a good game, but I really don't think either team had their A game last night. And again, why is that? I don't know. Is that because you just played Saturday night? Is that just because you played Duke, right? You played Florida Houston beat Duke, and then Florida beat Auburn. Maybe it's just because March Madness goes on for so long and you don't have the legs that you had at the beginning of the tournament. It was a low-scoring game. I do believe JD was the one that said he wanted to take the under yesterday on the show. I hope he did, because it hit. A very low-scoring game, but biggest takeaways we'll get to, Diesel. The best player last night was not the best player, Walter Clayton Jr. And for Florida to somehow, some way, still find a way to get it done, that to me is what's most impressive. WCJ missed a three from the left wing with 2 minutes to go. Houston led by one, right? If you remember correctly, Tolos, they had a 1-point lead. The next Houston possession, Diesel, was wasted. The shot was blocked on a 3-point, a lot of standing around, not a lot of ball movement, no movement off the ball. After a Florida miss, Diesel, Houston got the ball back up one with 1 minute to go. Up and under, right at the rim, blocked. 2 made free throws by Martin on the other end. Florida goes up one with 40 seconds. Houston, next possession, turns it over. Another blunder by Houston. That's what the final 3 possessions were, in my opinion, by the Cougars. Just straight blunders. They did not execute well down the stretch last night.
No, I mean, it's impressive for Walter Clayton Jr. to not have made a field goal until 7:54 to go in that game. Still wind up with 11 points, right? I mean, he was hitting his free throws. He wasn't making shots, but he was getting to the free throw line, and he was making them. What was really impressive about him is he didn't let it get him down. He didn't let it turn him into a player that pouts, that hangs their head, that isn't engaged in the game. He ended up with 11 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, which for a lot of players, Cole, is a really good basketball game. It's just not when you compare it to the 30 that he put up the 2 previous nights. And I wonder if it was that the story and all of the media hype got to him, or if he was just tired. Kicking ass is hard work, and he did it twice, 2 nights in a row prior to that game.
Well, I was way off on the 30-point prediction last night. Way off on that. He didn't come close. And you know what? Yesterday on the show, if someone told you and I, hey, guys, Walter Clayton Jr. is going to go for 11. I don't know if I would have picked Florida.
Would you foul out early?
I don't know. It would have majorly concerned me if you told me before the game that Walter Clayton only scored 11. Diesel, I don't know that I would have picked him. I don't know that I would have. Houston was good, but they couldn't shoot the ball worth of crap last night. Like, they didn't shoot well. And Florida shot a little bit better. It wasn't great. I mean, both teams last night, without looking, I have to double check here, I believe both teams, Diesel, were under 40% from the floor, and that's right. Houston shot 34%. Florida shot 39%. 3-point shooting, not good last night. Not good. Florida was 6 of 24. Houston was 6 of 25. I don't know, again, I don't know if it was just both teams kind of were tired, exhausted, mentally, physically, lost their legs. It was a defensive battle. Give credit to both teams defensively. And that's my first takeaway going back to Walter Clayton Jr., Diesel. Florida showed that even their best player, even when their best player is not playing well, not having their best night, they can still get the job done. Again, 11, 3 from 10 from the floor, 1 of 7 from 3 was Walter Clayton. The fact that they were able to still win with him only scoring 11 is my biggest takeaway of the night.
Well, it's also refreshing to see a defensive struggle, with 2 teams that were playing a little sloppy at times, but also they were playing really tight defense, right? I mean, it's the really good defenses that were causing both of these offenses to struggle. So that definitely needs to be mentioned.
Defense was good.
Defense was great, and we saw a lot of blocked shots. We saw a lot of, getting in front of the ball carrier and force them into
shots, by the way.
Forcing them into positions that they didn't want to be in, and that created some turnovers. I'm thinking of the out-of-bounds play that went off of the Houston player's knee, went straight out of bounds.
That was costly. Oh, God.
Kelvin Sampson came out and said, review that thing. It wasn't even close.
That was not good.
But for the most part, I think referees did a fantastic job of keeping the whistle in their pocket, not calling a lot of fouls, because they could have. I don't want to see the best players for both of these teams foul out with 3, 4, 5 minutes to go in a national championship game. I don't want to watch a war of attrition for a national championship game. I want to see the stars out there, slamming into each other on the court, going at each other head to head. It would have been a tragedy to watch the best players go out.
And this is a side note, not to get us off track here, but Diesel, what if we didn't have a week between the Elite Eight and the Final Four, only a few days, and then had more of a gap leading into the national championship game? Again, not saying it was a bad product last night. It was just both teams looked tired to me. They probably were. I mean, they played, 17 games in a matter of a 2-month stretch? I mean, it's a lot of basketball.
I mean, I know we got the Masters coming up, but it's not as if, they couldn't play this thing on Thursday night, the first night of the Masters, and give them another 2 or 3 days to rest.
That pissed the golfers off.
Well, I mean, look, golf is done by sundown.
That's true.
And the game is on at 8:50 at night.
God, that'd be a great day.
There's not going to be any crossover.
That'd be a fun
first day of the Masters and the national championship game on the same day. Can we make that happen? Can we give them another 2 or 3 days to rest up? I mean, I think the basketball would be better for it.
Yeah, it would be. Before we dive back into the game and hear your comments on the stream, where you can watch the show live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, Kane, who loves to hate on the Tolos, he still has Armada Elitist in his title, Diesel, but he has changed his YouTube, handle, is that right, to Tolos Do No Ball, after there was, not last night in the national championship game, Diesel, but a shellacking in the NCAA ESPN Tournament Challenge. You and I were really not worried, but concerned when this thing kicked off, because there were a lot of Rob Brown Show entries at the very top. Mm-hmm. But after the dust settles, you go look, and a shellacking it was in the wire-to-wire bracket challenge. Congratulations to play-by-play JB for winning the whole freaking thing as a Tolo.
Yeah.
Tolo. And by the way, for his prize for winning. He comes on air today. He tells us how he's so smart, how he picked such a good bracket. He gives the Tolos some advice on how to pick the best bracket. 435. Play-by-play JB, the winner joins
Wait, he does
us.
all this work, and his reward is he gets to talk to us?
His reward is he has to tell us secrets.
Okay. Well, JB, first place. Second place was a Tolo. Third place, Tar Heel Andrew. Mike Main, Judas is in fourth place. We got a Tolo in fifth. We got a Tolo in sixth. We got Cole Bryson in seventh. We got
Shout out
Tolos
to
all
Logan,
over the top of this thing.
Logan Holiday, right above me, my good buddy Logan, who had a good bracket, picked Florida. So what we said yesterday was that true? Was that true? All the Florida just went to the top.
Yep,
looks like it, right?
The lowest, or the highest rated entry that did not pick Houston to win the national championship was Buckeye Mike. He is a TRBSer. Emphasis on the BSer. He picked Houston to win the national championship, finished 29th overall. Sherb was in 37th. The Armada captain falls all the way to 41st place.
Wait, where?
41st. 41st. And Rob Brown, knower of ball. Let me see if I could find Rob Brown.
I have to do like an F11. What is that?
Search. Yeah. Rob Brown, knower of ball, is in, where is he, right? Where is Rob Brown?
Oh, boy.
Mrs. Rob Brown is in 110th place. Rob Brown, knower of ball. Let's find Rob. Did he delete his account? He finished in 84th place.
Okay.
Knower of ball is in 84th.
Behind you.
Way behind
and you
me.
were worried.
I was second to last at one point in the challenge.
Right?
And the only person who had fewer points than me didn't fill out a bracket. So I was in last place, and I vaulted all the way up to 37th.
Florida, baby. Florida helped us out a ton. So there you have it. There you have it, Tolos. If there was any debate, I don't think there was much debate to begin with. Rob Brown created this false narrative that the Tolos didn't know ball, and guess what? I'm proud of the Tolos today. I'm proud, man. Y'all showed up. You showed out. We had a Tolo win the dadgum thing, Diesel. Brian Pettit says he finished 50th. Not good, Brian Pettit. That's not something you brag about. Better luck next year. Congratulations to you for not finishing last, though. But congratulations to Play-by-Play JB. We have to think of some good, spicy questions to ask him at 4:35 to figure out how we can get this expertise out of him and pick. And you know what? I don't know how many more he got right than me, but evidently he got one or two more. One or two more is all it took. So
how many points ahead of you did he finish?
I had 15-10.
You had 15-10. He had 17-40.
Oh, God.
So he beat you by 230 points.
That's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Well, it feels like it. I don't know how many games that's worth.
And the fact that you both picked the same national champion, you can't easily say, well, he got 200 and something points for that. No, he was just better top to bottom.
Today is a celebration for the Tolos. Man, what a great day it is. Tolos, hop in, interact on the stream. Text line, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line open as well at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663. So many ways to interact. Diesel, my second takeaway from last night's game, you mentioned it a minute ago about giving credit to the defense. I want to give a lot of credit to Florida's defense last night. You know, a lot of times when in any sport, when your best player doesn't perform, sometimes it brings the rest of the team down. Florida's defense last night was elite. Elite. 3 syllables and elite, by the way. They held Houston to 34.8% from the floor. So much was made about WCJ, but the Gators, Diesel, they showed they have an elite defense. I thought, when you look at the totality of what happened last night, I think personally, I think that's what won them the game was their defense, right? Especially down the stretch.
Yeah, it was, lockdown again on both sides. Florida's issues were more self-inflicted in the first half, and then
they were.
And then Houston's issues were self-inflicted over the last 4 minutes of that game. I mean, you can't have a final possession like that where you don't even get a shot off. That is bad. That is on Kelvin Sampson, and that is on these players who didn't even manage to get a shot off. And they had opportunities to get shots off. They were looking for that one extra pass. When you've had a team that's playing tight defense on you all game, you cannot wait for the perfect opportunity, for the cleanest open shot. You're not going to get it. You need to take that shot. I mean, you were down 2. If you get fouled, if you jump into a guy on a three-pointer, you might get the foul call, and you might have an opportunity to go win it at the line.
There's a lot of standing around late for me. Not a lot of great ball movement. I just didn't love Florida's execution. Houston's execution and game plan down the stretch, especially in those 4 last drives. They brought the ball down. The guard had it. They spaced out, and they kind of just made statues. What was that old video everybody did, or the mannequin challenge, where you pretend to be still, the mannequin challenge or whatever it was, and you film the video, the trend that was, Tolo will tell me what I was talking about, but the mannequin challenge or whatever that's what it looked like Houston was doing last night. They just stood still. There was no ball movement late in the game, and that baffled me a little bit. My third and final takeaway, L.J. Cryer was the only Cougar in double figures in scoring. They couldn't knock down shots. They only had 5 assists, which, Diesel, I know we're going to get some audio in the next segment. I'm going to add one piece. Our friend of the show, Evan Miyakawa, asked Kelvin Sampson last night about the 5 assists. I don't want to say Kelvin Sampson was argumentative toward, who did I say it was?
Evan,
thank you. But it was a little bit of a back and forth. A really good piece of audio. Shout out to Evan Miyakawa, though, for the audio bite. They just didn't really knock down shots the way I thought they would in a national championship game. Again, only 5 assists. What does that mean? When you only have 5 assists, well, one may say you're not spreading the ball enough, right? You're not making that extra pass. Another might say Houston just didn't knock down shots, right? You can't have assists, Diesel, in a basketball game if you don't make shots. If you never make a shot, there will never be an assist. So I think it was a little bit of both in that regard. I just thought Houston offensively looked a little rusty.
You know what I did enjoy out of watching this Todd Golden team, when they are when they're going for offensive rebounds, they don't just go up for the rebound. They want to tip the ball up and backwards like a volleyball setter, right? There was a lot of that going on. So, you get the ball up in the air, you get your guys another opportunity to go after the ball and get that rebound, instead of what we've seen a lot over the past 3 to 5 to 10 years of college basketball, which is 2 passes, jack up a 3. If you miss it, oh well, doesn't matter. Get back and play defense so they can't run the fast break on you. I mean, it certainly helps when you're playing at Florida, when you're playing at a high-level school with high-level talent that can get back, even if they, don't get that first initial burst down the court. But to watch a team do that with so much success, and I've seen multiple teams do that this year. It seems to be catching on. I wonder if we're going to see that become the new default way that you try to get those offensive and defensive rebounds.
Yeah, and it's a good way, Madcraft, to kind of describe to describe kind of what it was. I agree with you on the Houston end. He said, I've never seen a game where players were trying not to touch the ball like they played hot potato. It was comedy. That's what I meant. Like, it was just a lot of standing around in those last few drives. I didn't love it. JB on the YouTube stream, Diesel, has changed his handle now to take a little shot at the paramedic elitist of the Rob Brown Show. It is now JB Knows Ball Tolo OG. I like that. What's good about that, JB, is you might need to leave the Tolo OG on there forever, because we have play-by-play JB. We have you. Now we can distinct you as JB Tolo OG or OG JB, right? JB OG. I don't know. That sounds weird. That sounds really, really weird. But a lot of Tolos claiming their bragging rights today, as you should be, because it was fantastic. And as I said, I'm stoked for Florida fans. They played great. They played good enough to win the game, Diesel. And Todd Golden, man, I think that was big for him last night, right? Following the legacy from Florida basketball that's been really good. I know it's been 6 or 7 since they won, 06 or 07 since they won it last, but Florida basketball has been good. Now he's kind of etched his name and forever, in the Mount Rushmores of Florida basketball coaches, with them having a really good baseball program. Todd Golden, you asked our guest yesterday, he probably feels like the man on campus right now.
Yeah, and so much credit deserved to a guy who hasn't been around all that long as a coach. Todd Golden, only 39 years old, and I love that stat that they put up on screen in the first half there. Todd Golden, had he won that game, and he obviously eventually did, if he would win this national championship, he would be the youngest coach since Jim Valvano to win a national championship. And if Kelvin Sampson had won, he would have been the oldest coach to win a national championship. So, a battle of extremes there. A guy that's been around for a long time in Kelvin Sampson, and a guy that, it's hard to say he's still cutting his teeth at 39 years old, because obviously he knows a thing or two about basketball and was able to bring that program back to national championship winning, play in 2 seasons.
And how crazy is it now to look back? I saw this morning, Diesel, I don't want to say collapses. That might be a little disrespectful toward Sampson, but the shortcomings. I mean, he's been right there for a long time. Final 4 losses, now national championship loss, Elite 8 losses. They've been a really good team. He just, for whatever reason, hadn't been able to get it done. I kind of feel bad for him.
When we come back, Cole, let's listen to a lot of the post-game audio, a couple other clips from throughout the game as well. And our favorite, Charles Barkley, back in the media, ripping on those big ladies from San Antonio. We'll play that piece of audio, too, next. Florida Gators are your national champions from the NCAA tournament 65-63. Tolos are gloating all over the place. Well deserved, because you rocked it in the wire-to-wire bracket challenge, the tournament challenge on ESPN.com. You should be proud of the way that y'all came back, because the Rob Brown Show and the elitists did get the upper hand early, but you came back strong in the second half. And it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Let's look at the text line. T Experience says, I was 2 points off from the Florida score. Yesterday, I texted in Florida getting 67, but it was 65. Didn't T Experience pick 2 scores yesterday?
He did. He picked 2.
It's good. It's good, T Experience, that you got one of your 2 scores right, but
you should only pick one.
You pick a high-scoring score and a low-scoring score. One of them is going to be somewhat close.
If you
right?
only picked one and you got it right,
Yeah.
you'd look really smart today, TX.
You would. But hey, we'll give you 50% credit for that. How about that? Okay, partial credit.
Partial.
Dewey texts in and says, Rob Brown should come on the air at 3 p.m. tomorrow and apologize to Cole and Diesel and all the real Tolos.
I don't think there's an apology needed. I think the now that I think about it, Diesel, when you go forward and have future tournaments next year and years prior or years after with ESPN Bracket Challenge, whatever, in order to be invited back, you have to show up.
Well,
They didn't show up, so I don't know that they get the invite back, right?
I don't know that they need to apologize either. What I would like to see is for all of the TRBSers, the Armada whatevers, line up together in a line, get on their knees and do the Wayne's World, we're not worthy, we're not worthy. That's what I need to see from them. Only once that happens will I be satisfied.
You've got to be able to contribute to be invited into these things, and then they didn't contribute. And by the way, I'm sorry I missed it. Tolo, what do we say? OGJB or JBOG, whatever. We've coined him now. He finished second, so 2 JBs.
How about that?
Yeah, I love it.
I love it. I love to see it. Cole, we spent the first segment talking about this game. Now let's hear some of the audio from this game during the game and post-game. Here is the final possession as Florida won the national championship game.
And that foul line has been a dilemma. They made the 2 big ones the other night. National championship is in the balance. 13 seconds left. Florida leads it by 2. Uzan got to go. Uzan, give it up. Cryer, 6 seconds, 5 seconds. Sharp. He walked. He can't touch it. He can't. 1 second. And it's over. Florida is back on top of the college basketball world. Championship madness. It's a great day to be a Gator.
I mean, that's a heads-up play, Cole, to realize that you traveled and know that you cannot touch the ball or the game is over.
Brutal.
So brutal to make that mistake, but also smart to know you can't touch the ball. It's not going to,
Just had to
provide
watch
any
it.
solace.
He just had to watch it.
Yeah,
That's all he could do.
And the Florida defense was all over him in that moment. I mean, they basically trapped him for a national championship.
That was the television call, right?
Yeah, that was the CBS call.
I hate to be this guy, but while the CBS calls are great, I always, it's terrible to pour salt in an open wound, Diesel. I always like hearing the losing radio crew. I know that's terrible. It's mean. You're pouring salt, but there's no excitement. It's funny. Here was that from the Houston radio crew on how it ended last night.
Looks to get it in and does to Uzan. Uzan hands it back to Cryer. Cryer across the timeline with 15 seconds. Cryer between the rings with 13. Cryer, right wing to Uzan with 9. Uzan off the screen, picks up the dribble to Cryer, right wing with 7. Cryer to Sharp. Sharp thought about the 3, didn't put the ball. Francis, the Condon dives for it. He's going to hold on, and Florida wins.
Florida wins.
Sharp left his feet, couldn't touch the basketball again. Condon dove on it. Florida wins the national championship.
Not too sad, right? I think he did a good job. You can tell.
You hear just the drop.
It's like,
So close.
Florida wins.
Let's go into the post-game interviews. This is an interview with Houston's Juwan Howard. He was asked what it feels like to know that he will never be able to put that Houston jersey on again.
Coach Sampson has been everything to me, from Coach Sampson down to grandkids. Everybody played a part. in me being here for 6 years. And I wanted it so bad for him. So bad. And it hurts because I can't do it next year. I can't put myself in position to do it next year. This will be my last time wearing my jersey, and I feel terrible. But I told the younger guys, to the returners, to remember this feeling. So when you in this moment again, or you're in this situation again, you'll be on top. And I feel like everything you go through in life is a lesson. And I'm glad I could play with LJ. I'm glad I played with all those guys. But Coach Sampson, the role that he played in my life, I can't even put into words.
It's obvious how much these players love, respect, and care about Kelvin Sampson. I mean, you can hear it in his voice. He's devastated. He's heartbroken.
Yeah.
And to know that he's not going to get another chance. I mean, it is 2025, Cole. Maybe he could petition the NCAA for another year. Who knows?
It's tough to hear. I hate hearing that. It's almost like you'd rather this is going to sound crazy, just FYI. It's almost like you'd rather lose in the first round than have the heartbreak of going through and getting all the way there, and then, oh, my gosh.
Because it's going to take years for them to get over this loss.
It's tough.
And then focus on all the wins that got them to that point.
Yeah.
Rather than losing to Florida there in the closing minutes. And again, if you just simply get beat by a better team, you play well and they just play better than you, that's admirable, and you can hang your hat on it and not feel bad about it. But to know that you didn't even get a shot off in that final possession, that's tough, and that's one of those things that these guys are going to carry with them. Let's go to Kelvin Sampson after the loss to Florida. He was talking about that very thing that we just discussed, about how they were able to find a way to win against Duke, but not against the Gators.
I told our guys after the game to be disappointed you lost, but do not be disappointed in your effort. Defending Florida is difficult. They got a really, really good team. Coach Golden runs great schemes over there, but we guarded them. We held that team to 65 points. I thought if we held Duke to under 70, we'd have a good chance to win. And I felt like if we held Florida under 70, we'd have a good chance to win. Saturday, we found a way to win. Tonight, maybe not so much. But two great teams, two tough teams. We lost by 2 points. They made one more play than we did tonight.
Is it better to lose by 20 or by 2?
It's tough.
Which one hurts more, losing by 20 or losing by 2?
Having a chance late and not being able to do it. Here was that Evan Miyakawa question while Sampson was up on the podium. This was interesting. Again, I don't think he was being disrespectful, but it's interesting audio.
5 assists. That's the fewest you've had in a game since 2020. Was there anything that Florida was doing, do you think, that took away?
What's your first name?
Evan Miyakawa.
Well, let me explain how an assist works, Evan. I'm not sure, but when you throw the ball to somebody and they score, that's an assist, right? But we threw the ball a lot to J1 in the post, and he missed some shots that he normally makes. So those were possible potential assists that we had a lot. We just didn't make a lot of shots. I don't know if it's certainly Florida. Let's give them credit for being a good defensive team. But we threw the ball and passed the ball enough to get more assists. We just didn't make enough shots.
Let me explain how an assist works, Evan.
That's a coach that's hurting. I mean, I know Kelvin will probably, if he ever thinks of it again, he'll look back on that response and say, you know what, that was unprofessional. I shouldn't have handled it that way.
What's your name?
Well, yeah, didn't we see that not long ago where somebody asked a reporter what's their name and then undressed them for the question that they had asked? Here's now we go into the winning locker room, Cole, immediately following the game. This was Todd Golden, fired up, addressing his team for the first time.
Hey! Incredible job. All right, start to finish. You guys have done this all year, though. All right, we talked about it at halftime. Stay the course. Final 4 minutes. That was our time, all right? And each and every one of you guys should be incredibly proud of what you just accomplished, all right? Saf, how many D1 teams are there now? 36. There's 363 Division I teams that start the year, 68 that start this tournament. All right, you guys just won. Well, how many won in a row now? 13? Oh, that's a lot. It's a lot. We've been doing it. It's a lot. But every time, it doesn't matter how. We could outscore people. We get to a hundo. Tonight, we had to do it a different way. All right, we played an incredibly tough, gritty, great program. We had to win an ugly game. Well, we just did. Nobody can ever take that away from us. Each and every one of you guys are national champions.
Why'd they bleep out freaking? Is it freaking, he said?
Yeah, exactly. I think he said
I think you had to
Fiesta.
bleep that
Your
out.
National Fiesta champs.
No, I had to bleep out.
Yeah, look.
That's awesome.
To be able to win when you're not playing your type of game, that's the mark of a champion, right? I mean, we talk about it in football. We talk about it now in basketball as well. The truly great teams find ways to win even when they're not playing well. Mm-hmm. Here we go to the post-game press conference. That audio, by the way, was credit to NCAA March Madness. To the press conference, here is Todd Golden about that very last defensive stand.
They're known for their defense, #1 defense in the country, and yet it was your defense on that last possession where Houston couldn't even get a shot off.
Incredibly proud. You know, we knew that Houston was not going to make it easy on us, and that's what we needed tonight to find a way to win. We had to find a way to get some stops and make the game really difficult for them, and we guarded our tail off in the second half. And in that last possession, Walt had a great closeout for Sharp to put the ball on the floor. He realized he couldn't pick it up, and Kondo dove on the loose ball, and next thing I knew, the horn went off, and we had won the game.
I mean, I don't think I've seen as many blocked threes, blocked jumpers in a game as we did in that one.
Yeah,
right? I mean, they were Florida was long. I mean, they got hands up. They were able to elevate and put fingertips on the ball multiple times in key situations where it felt like, okay, Houston has had this game in hand most of the time. Now they struggled a little bit, but they'll turn it back on close to the end and take this one home. But Florida deserves a tremendous amount of credit for their on-ball defending.
Yeah, they really do. I just think, again, not enough said about his effort. Coaching job last night from Todd Golden.
Did you say you had one more, or was that the one that you already played?
I think I'm good.
So here we go, Cole. This is the last piece of audio I have. You're well aware, and we are all well aware because we're all big fans of the TNT broadcast crew. We're fans of Charles Barkley and of Ernie and of Shaq and all the crew over there. We love it because Charles is a wild card, right? Charles says a lot of off the wall things, and years ago he made a comment about those big women down in San Antonio, and he has maintained this bit now, Cole, for 20 years or so. And multiple times he has been admonished by, not civil rights. It's I can't remember the organizations, but it's like the Association of American Fat People or something. And they came after him because he said this thing about big women down in San Antonio. And he said, you know what? I didn't really go after any individual. I didn't go after anybody in particular. But then he'll double down on, y'all got some big women here. And here was Charles Barkley, if you guys hadn't heard this yet, in San Antonio at the Fan Fest prior to the game. And it's fun because you know that this crowd hates Charles Barkley at first, and then he starts saying the right things, and they start cheering for him, and then he comes back and hits one more time with the big women gag. Here we go. They're booing him.
I love it.
San Antonio is a great city. I want to say this. Y'all are a great city. I love Greg Popovich and the Spurs. No, seriously. San Antonio, y'all put on a major great show. And I want to say this. Thank you. And yes, y'all got some big bitches here.
Did he say that word?
Yes, he did.
Oh.
Yes, he did. What a masterful job by a seasoned media professional. He took a hostile crowd. He got him in there in his hand and then hit him with the uppercut to end it. I love it.
And he
I love
said
Charles.
that word. Wow. Wow. Charles, keeping it. Well, what do we expect out of Charles? Hey, it starts this week, Tolos. That's right. You probably have seen it already on TV today, as I did this morning. The Masters is Thursday. It begins Thursday, if you will. And obviously a lot of conversation leading up to that. First thoughts on the 2025 Masters and the question as well. That's next. Well, as soon as the college basketball tournament comes to an end, thankfully, luckily, we are gifted the Masters every single year. And it is Masters Week. It's here. It's time to watch a little golf and see who might bring it home in 2025. I would like to just attend the Champions Dinners, the only thing I really care about doing. Obviously, it'd be a privilege to go. I don't know that. I mean, I would love to know if any of our Tolos have ever been. I think that's a very rare occurrence in terms of being able to somehow secure a ticket to go to the Masters, but it would be quite the trip. Diesel, Scotty Scheffler favored to win this year's Masters again. You know, he walked the dog last year on Sunday. He's plus 475. The top five, Rory plus 625. Colin Morikawa, 14-1 odds. John Rahm, 14-1 odds. And Bryson DeChambeau, 16-1 odds to win the Masters. Those are the top five. Do you like one of those top five, early lean, or are you looking at somebody outside of the top five when it comes to who your early lean on a Tuesday might be?
I mean, it's really hard to pick against Scotty Scheffler.
Really hard.
But it's also really hard to play elite golf at the same course 2 years in a row. Like, you know, things happen, and we don't know what the weather is going to be like down there. It is always really unpredictable. In this week around the Masters, sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's cold and rainy, sometimes you get a little bit of both. So we'll have to wait and see how these conditions are going to play out.
The worst weather was yesterday, by the way.
And so, I mean, look, that course has probably got more money in drainage than all of us Tolos combined have in our houses and cars combined. So they're going to get that course in tip-top shape. I do like Rory. He's been playing well. He played well the last couple of weeks. I think he's in as good a spot as he can be. I did see a little frustration from him last week or 2 weeks ago in Houston, but he was still playing top five level golf. So he's got to handle those emotions, because when Rory McIlroy gets upset on the course, you could see it. He wears those emotions on his sleeve.
Diesel is the one that I think's most intriguing, and I'll tell you why. Yes, you're right. Scotty's hard to beat. Hard to bet against Scotty. Really, really hard to do that. We all know Bryson can hit it. He can hit it as long as anybody. He'll be in contention, right? But I think Rory's the interesting storyline, because I do, as a guy who doesn't consider himself a golf guy, I like when Rory wins. I pull for Rory. I followed Rory last year when I got to go to Charlotte. Diesel. He's plus 625. He's second. Never won at Augusta. This would be his first match. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's been around the game of golf for a long time, and he has not won a major since 2014, Diesel. He's due.
We talked last week about, you know, who is the face of golf. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we look at it from the perspective of who is the new Tiger Woods. Well, there isn't a Tiger Woods. There's not somebody out there who is just so dominant and who appears to be like a Terminator, just ruthless. Scotty Scheffler is close to being there, as close as it gets. But golf, as far as like it needing a face, it needs Rory McIlroy to win a major and to put his face and his name out there in front of the crowds, in front of people, and be a spokesman for golf, right? Like, Tiger notoriously didn't want to spend a lot of time talking to the media, but his play and his dominance really spoke for him. And so I think we've got kind of a mix of two or three guys that are in that role right now. But Rory is a conversationalist. He will get in front of a microphone and he will talk. So if Rory ever put it together to the point where he went on a dominant run, won 2 majors in a season, won, 3, 4 in a couple year stretch, he would be that guy who would be the face of golf.
I'm pulling for him. I am. He's been doing it for so long. He turned professional in 2007. So you're talking about a storied career, a lot of major wins mixed in, Diesel. Again, I think the most interesting storyline there is that it could be, even though he's been in the golf game a long time, it could be the first Masters that he's ever won. You don't see a lot of repeats. I mean, you go back and look. Excuse me. Scotty won it last year. Rahm the year before that. Scotty in 22, Diesel. Mm-hmm. Hideki Matsuyama in 21, Dustin Johnson in 20, Tiger in 19, Patrick Reed. There's a lot of parity in winning this thing. Scotty Scheffler could do something here and win in 3 or 4, Diesel, that isn't done often.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty is still a young enough guy that he can go on a run, but his window is closing. He's 35, and usually you can have those elite level rounds when you're in your mid-30s on a professional scale, but it's hard to put it together week after week after week. Scotty is 7 years younger than him. Shane Lowry, who's been playing really well, Shane Lowry is in his upper 30s, and he could challenge, he could push for this thing. But
the last time somebody won back-to-back? 01, 02, want to guess? Easy guess here. Tiger. 01, 02. Last time
it doesn't happen often.
No, it's been a long time. And before that, good luck finding somebody. I believe Nick Faldo did, but it doesn't happen often. I'm excited. I'm pulling for Rory. Again, it's interesting in terms of who you're putting money on because there's some good value there when you look down the list.
And Rory's got some support from the golf traditionalists who didn't want to see the best players go over to live. He was loyal to the PGA. And so that obviously raised his profile in the minds of a lot of golf aficionados and PGA purists. Yeah. When we come back, Cole, on the other side of the break, we'll have a special guest on with us, Grayson Mann, who was down at the Clemson Spring Game. We'll talk about that and so much more with Grayson next. the NCAA tournament has come to a close. We got NBA playoffs about to get started. It's Masters Week, and just dropped right there in front of it is a little nugget of college football. Clemson held their spring game this past weekend, and to talk about it, Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com joins us. Grayson, welcome to the show. Can you, for those who were not able to watch it, which is most people because it's not on any streaming networks or television anymore, can you take us into the scene, what you saw, and how that compares to years past? I've seen some photos. I've seen a few videos. The crowd looked okay, maybe a little lighter than it has been in the past. Would you say that that was accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. It was definitely different, and I'm not sure how many of those in attendance were stuck in line at Little John for the surplus sale that went down and the rage that followed with that. But I think if you're going to describe the spring word in one word, it would be different. Dabo Swinney, with the in-house format that they chose to take, they're not beholden to any ACC network type of commercial breaks, so you really flew through this. It was the quickest 91 minutes that's ever taken place in Death Valley. And so for the fans, I think it was a quick thing to just get some quality looks at the team. Will be the only look for a lot of people until LSU comes to town in August. But for me, just a really, I think, unique way to get the team out there. And I think it provided a little bit of an advantage for Clemson to be able to just have this still, continue that routine. And for a lot of players that we'll talk about today, it was incredibly a much positive step forward for a lot of these guys.
You know what, to your point, Grayson, about it being different or weird, right? I mean, it to me this year more than past years, it truly felt like fans showed up for practice. That's what it felt like for me, which isn't a bad thing. That's ultimately what it was or what it is, right? I want to start with the running back position. We talked about it last week in terms of what Clemson fans would look forward to or who they could expect to see starting at the running back position in August. Well, Adam Randall moved over. Peyton Strico had a touchdown. I believe the first touchdown of the day, Grayson. Is he a guy that you could see featured a little more in that conversation that we had last week?
I'm not entirely sure. I think right now it was probably going to be the three that made the most separation are probably going to be Adam Randall, David Eziamume, and then Gideon Davidson, the freshman running back that we discussed about last week. You know, Strico, a good walk-on story, good product, and one of those things in the spring game where you have a couple that don't normally do very prominent shine. And so when it comes down to that, I think for this running back group, it's a little bit deeper than last year. There's a little bit more trust seeded into last year. And so you have Chris Denson and Strico lead the first touchdown drive of the day. That's sort of what makes the spring game unique in that sense. And Denson had a heck of a day for himself, as you are playing on the screen right there with Denson and Strico getting it in. Had a good day. And overall, I think running back is in a better spot than last year, considering once Maffa went down, you sort of hit the panic button. You're like, do we really trust anybody behind them? I think this spring's been a different change of tune, and I think that can ultimately benefit the offense. We saw a lot of two running back sets from Garrett Riley, as opposed to just the one bell cow look that we've seen in 2024. So I think that type of variety can only serve to benefit this group as we head into the fall of 2025.
Grayson, you were privy to us trying to get fancy on the stream and be able to show video.
And Dabo yelling.
Yeah, we're fancy now.
He was on the microphone like that. He was the MC.
Gosh.
He was out there, man.
How many times, Diesel, I wish you could have heard the PA announcer and Dabo talking over each other. That was the best part. It was Dabo had a mic, the PA guy trying to do his job. You know, I heard a PA guy laugh for the first time ever. He laughed. Did you catch that, Grayson?
Oh yeah, he was giggling a couple times. I think just because of the nature of it, he's instinctively going to go touchdown. And then you hear Dabo, you're like, oh, here we go, and then he keeps yelling the same name over and over. And I think it just tickled a couple people. I had one person message me, is Dabo going to stop talking, or is this going to be the whole thing? I said, I think you're going to be pretty disappointed. I think he's going to continue to do this for the next few hours or so. So ended up being sort of the master of ceremonies. And I think probably too, a really funny moment that got me was he was getting on Klubnik a little bit, put the mic behind his back, and you could really see the head moving. He was jawing at him, which I just found funny. Let's keep this off air for the fans.
Grayson, let's talk about the opposite of that that touchdown was the pick that came through in the spring game. You know, he's been through a couple of spring games before, and these guys, they're working with coaches and or they're working out on their own basically year round. That little touch of sloppiness there from a veteran guy Does that give you any pause for concern at all?
Absolutely not. I think that we already know what we got from Cade Klubnik. And I think for fans, it's good to be a little bit more critical of your Heisman potential contending quarterback. And so I think the spring game was less about him and more about the Vizinas, the Densons. What is the future of the position going to look like? And Sweeney has been tough on Klubnik this spring. And I think that's more of a product of we got to get our best guy out there to tighten the chin straps a little bit in Sweeney's mind. So for me, I know a lot of people will probably panic about the interception. It wasn't a great throw by any means, and it wasn't really in rhythm. But I will add, when you're working with receivers who have the no contact jerseys on, you're a little bit less hesitant to throw with the ball. There's a little bit of a rhythm that gets thrown off when you're doing that. And so not a great throw by any means, not trying to certainly defend that pass. And we got the great video here captured by Cole Bryson, man. Like, look at this. Look, basically, you were the problem.
I thought the receiver might have ran the route a little wrong and Cade overthrew it, right?
Yeah, a combination of both. And so fans will probably see that and be like, start to throw the panic button a little bit. But I think with this group, once things begin to settle in and you don't see the green, don't see the yellow, it's just sort of the format of it. I thought Klubnik bounced back particularly well and had a nice seam down the left side of the field to Antonio Williams. That really just was, hey, there's some confidence being built here. Necessarily not worried. I don't think Klubnik was really on my notes on Saturday. It wasn't something, regardless of how it went, I wasn't going to have a major takeaway about what we should expect from QB1 in 2025. Not a great throw, but at the same time, get him in for 3 or 4 series, get his legs warmed up, and then get him out of there.
What about Khalil Barnes, though, with the interception? I mean, you're talking about a guy who, had a good year last year, Grayson, but I think is maybe primed for even better, maybe a breakout year, right?
I think someone that fans are going to be watching for, and it was really funny to hear from Sweeney afterwards that he had spoken with Avion Terrell and Khalil Barnes and was like, we're really putting these jerseys on not for you, but we're doing it for the protection of others because we know you guys like to get out there and hit, and sort of that fun back and forth that came with it. And so I think for Barnes, it's a big year, had a big freshman season, might have been placed out of position at times. I remember one specific instance against FAU. I believe it was either FAU or LA Tech. It's one of those mid-major teams that you end up seeing, and he was sort of put on an island, and it was confused as to why, because he's more of a nickelback with a free roamer safety. So I think under Tom Allen, I'm really excited to see how he utilizes that kind of athleticism in his defense. And I think as the secondary goes through another change with the absence of RJ Mickens, I think Khalil Barnes is one that has to step up and is certainly capable of doing so.
Yeah, can you go into a little bit more about Tom Allen, the way he sort of performed? That's not the right word, but performed on Saturday. Defense looked good. How was he on the sidelines? Was he as animated on the sidelines as you'd expect him to be?
And so Allen actually, Allen was actually up in the box calling the plays for this. And I think it's always been a discussion of it's really up to Allen where he wants to be. But I think for the spring game, it was just a matter of getting the plays in. But I think from a logistical and operational standpoint, the thing that really stuck out to me, just from whether it was a first string guy or a third stringer, the tackling looks much better. And last year, that was a real Achilles heel for this team. And sometimes the basics of the game just get beside you. And so to just really note that, the way they're wrapping up, the way they're bringing guys to the ground, the gap discipline is much better. So already in these first few months that he's really taken over with this defense, you can see noticeable improvements that I think will only continue to grow and get better as we head to the summer and then eventually to fall camp. And then once we get LSU in Death Valley, that'll be a lot of fun to see where this defense has truly grown in that time span.
Speaking of the defense, Grayson, a nice play by Vic Burley and a goal line stand. I thought, man, he just smash mouth kind of guy. As you can see on the stream here, fans should expect what out of Vic Burley in 2025?
Yeah, he was someone last week I thought had a chance to really step up, and especially given the way the spring game usually is formatted, you get the starters in for a little bit, and then you throw in some of the guys that need the experience, need the reps, and Burley has been one that I think the staff's really excited about. It's just a matter of keeping him on the field. And so when you bring in DeMonte Capehart back, you still have Peter Woods. Amari Adams has been a name that has really flashed. I think this is a spring where Burley was able to stay healthy and really contribute to that rotation. Depth is going to be an absolutely important piece when the season gets extended. You play 15, 16, 17 games. You're going to want someone like Victor Burley to go out there and play meaningful snaps. I think he's certainly capable on a talent standpoint, but for him, it's all about staying healthy. I think that's a big play to remind fans of the talent that he was when Clemson recruited him initially. And I look at Ronan Hannafin there on that play too, with the helmet flying off. He was someone that felt like he was shot out of a cannon on Saturday, just wants to go hit somebody.
You can find Grayson on Twitter at Gray_man with 2 N's 21. What can you tell us about the transfer out of Tavoy Fagan, cornerback? Is this more of a depth chart issue, a playing time decision? Can you give us more on the why there?
I think when it comes to it with the transfer portal, some of these kids just want to play. And with the way things had been sort of panning out, I don't believe Sweeney was too thrilled with how the depth at that position was looking, and he really challenged them in early March to say, we need you guys to play a little bit better. And it ultimately really wasn't producing. I think this makes sense probably for both parties, where you get a guy that maybe isn't exactly pleased with his role, isn't likely to improve as the fall and the calendar begins to tick closer to that. So I think for him getting to that stage and entering the transfer portal, which will be official in about 8 days here, I think that makes sense for Clemson. Also, wouldn't be a bad move for them to either go replace him, get another cornerback in the portal just to continue to add to that depth. Can't stress that enough. No matter where I am, where I'm speaking, depth is that word that's going to win teams national championships from here on out. And the more bodies you can have out there that can play quality football, the better.
Grayson, what did Davo Sweeney say post-practice, post-spring game that you really that really stood out to you?
I think the matter of just the usual spring game isms where it's, we're not really here quite yet. But the one that stood out to me certainly was just the story behind Adam Randall and someone that's continued to work towards this progression along with other guys who it's sort of this mix of storytelling with him. And if you get him to sit down and really explain some of these players, the ones that he was most pleased with were Randall and Tristan Smith, who have just been thrown, lots been thrown at them, particularly Smith out of the portal, coming out of the FCS. We had reported that the first day of practice for him wasn't particularly phenomenal, didn't really blow anybody away. And more that you talk to players, they say, man, this is the happiest guy in the room. He's brought a real infectious energy and he's making plays left and right. So you talk to guys like TJ Parker, who says this is nothing new. And then Sweeney follows that up with, yeah, he's continued to make plays. He's going to be pivotal for us. This was a big spring for him. And then just with the more positive notes that he will remark about the running back room, those were the comments that stuck out to me. And just a general mesh of 40 minutes where you get a lot thrown at you. And I think that's great for him, where he was able to give us a lot of information. But those few players that had those particular days, especially Smith, just to hear Sweeney reiterate those comments, I think were big.
Grayson Mann of TigerNet joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Sort of back to the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about, we even talked about this last week, about spring games and their viability in the future. What can you tell us about, the profitability of spring games as they stand right now, and if what I feel is the inevitable of teams playing other teams, which will turn into home and home. So you'd have a spring game this year on campus. You wouldn't have one on on campus next year. Do you think that in the future, the people who are starting to think about and organize these things believe that it can essentially double and generate double the revenue that it does now, so that you can still be economically viable to have these things every other year?
I think the history of the spring game, we're going to see it evolve into something completely different in the next 5 years. Maybe even next year, we'll see a different thing. I do love the idea of a home and home scrimmage series where you sort of treat it like the NFL preseason. I think for media and fans alike, you can get a lot more information when, let's say, Clemson scrimmages with West Virginia, for example, just throwing out the first team that comes to mind, and you get to see good on good. You get to see how different offense operates a different scheme instead of, well, we've seen Tom Allen's scheme for the last 3 months. We know exactly where to go with this, versus we haven't really seen what West Virginia operates. We don't really see how they do. How do you combat a certain look versus this? And so I think for logistically, I think that makes sense. And I think that'd be really consumable for the fan. In terms of money and profits and viability, I've never seen the spring game as this huge moneymaker, especially when the crowd is exited by halftime. You're not really getting as many folks in the building, just because of the nature of it's a glorified scrimmage. But maybe that's your way. That's your path to enticing fans, where, let's say, Clemson plays Colorado and you want to get a look at Coach Prime's team in the spring before everybody else. Well, come to Clemson and figure it out. Or you want to get a look at where Georgia's at, go see them play Alabama in a spring series. They're going to have some open practices to the to the fans, sort of how the NFL does it. So there's options out there. The NCAA is being a little bit, I think, they've become public enemy number one, and you've had Mike Gundy come out and say, what is the NCAA really going to do about this? We're just going to go ahead and do it anyways. What can they really do? Sort of testing the power that the NCAA may or may not have. It's all fascinating conversation for sure, but I would love to see that direction with some scrimmages. Treat it like the NFL preseason. There's ways to prevent injury, and there's ways to really generate interest.
Grayson, you could have said anybody but West Virginia. I mean, I think there will always be a little bit of a sore spot there with Clemson fans. Right? Kevin Steele, I mean, could you have picked anybody else there?
You know, I have a Celtics hat by my computer in Missoula, West Virginia. Like, that sort of just ticked in my mind.
They just scored again, by the way, I think.
That's right. I mean, hey.
How many? God, that was so long ago. I shouldn't bring that up. I shouldn't, but they scored 4.5 million points. How about the beer sales? Any word from Davo or Graham Neff of how that went? It was kind of a test on Saturday.
Well, I got to talk to a couple people that got to experience it. I think there was a little bit of I think the cutoff was at halftime, and it was just interesting to see fans walking around with these giant cans, and, you know, there's a lot of smiles, and so it was a relatively nice day out, so there's no 95-degree guys that are overdoing it with a bunch of alcohol in their system as the sun's beaming down on them. But in terms of comments from Dabo, Sweeney, or Graham Neff, haven't really heard anything on that front. Again, not really too invested on the alcohol sales for my standpoint. No one's going to be handing me a beer while I'm working out there. But I think a lot of fans really have enjoyed it, and I think they're excited for baseball this week. Gardner Webb tomorrow. Some people are going to get to experience that in DKS for the first time. I know Eric Bakich sort of jumped the gun on that in the winter, but we'll get to see all that take place now, and it'll be interesting to talk to more people and learn about how this process is really dragged out. It's the piloted version, I'm pretty sure. So I'm not entirely sure what that means. Maybe it's a limited sale. They're doing it for XYZ amount of time and then seeing how it goes. But a fascinating asset for Clemson to have.
Grayson, always appreciate you, man. Fantastic stuff. Do you have a Masters pick you want to leave with us?
Oh, guys, I'm not huge into golf. To be completely honest with you,
I'm not either. So join the club. I'm not.
I'll maybe tune in for a bit, but I have just never been. Yeah. This time of year, I'm focused on the NBA playoffs and then just whatever I'm required to do for my job. So
okay,
I'm ready
how about that then?
Ready for these guys to defend the title.
Yeah, that's going to happen. There's nobody that's going to touch them. What about Malone getting fired today? I mean, that was huge.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was about to leave to grab some lunch, and I see the Shamaria bomb on Twitter, and I'm thinking, is this guy been hacked again, or this like the Luka Doncic news, where one of the more successful teams in the NBA in the decade?
He's a good coach.
Fired. Yeah,
really good coach.
Man, it's unbelievable stuff. Unbelievable stuff.
I do like your Celtics to repeat, though. I really do.
I do too.
In good shape. I think you're in good. Hey, always appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Grayson, man, TigerNet.com. Even though he's a Celtics fan.
Nobody's perfect. People are complimenting his clean-cut look, his nice hairstyle, and then he has to go and ruin
He's as
it
close
by
to
being
a perfect,
fan.
though, as you can. I mean, when I think perfect, I think Grayson Mann's pretty close to it. JB says, yeah, that 70-33, 2012 Orange Bowl. That was what I was referencing there, JB. I didn't realize it was 2012. Didn't seem – I was going to guess 2014 or so, but
I think that's more points than West Virginia had scored all season.
It was probably close. I remember that like it was yesterday, man. I do. It was Clemson fans. If you remember the play that led to it all, Clemson was about to score on the goal line, going in, fumbled, 100 yards, gone, and yeah, that was a rough one, a brutal one, as you might say. You know, it's interesting to ask people. I don't know if it's a 50-50 split or not in terms of how many sports writers are in the golf. There's not as many as you would think, you know? Like, I think the golf guys love it. The golf guys love the Masters this week. But I don't know. If we polled the audience today, how many of our Tolos would say they are excited about the Masters? Would it be 50%? I don't know.
If you get half to say they're into something, that's big.
I just don't know. Like, it's a great event. It's, you know, the best event for the game of golf.
It's in our backyard, basically. You know, you're not gonna get a whole lot of closer events that feel like Southern events. I mean, it's basically a suburb of Greenwood.
Yeah, it's not far at all. And again, I mean, I'm not a golf guy. I'm not a golf expert. I don't play golf. I enjoy watching it more than anything, and I'll watch.
I've started watching a lot of like explainer videos on YouTube about the greens at the Masters and the way these things are designed to be so dang difficult. The way they're sloped in different areas, and like you got to land it in the right spot to set yourself up for the next putt. And if you land it over here, you're definitely not going to hit a putt from there. You're going to two putt from like it's wild. And the fact that every single green is set up that way with that level of difficulty. I mean, it ain't like playing your municipal course out here where the greens are all basically flat.
You know what's interesting? I did see a video on those greens that kind of the same subject you're talking about, where a guy had. You have to tell me what it's called. I don't know. I'm not a golf guy. You know those little roller coasters? That's what it looks like. I'm going to call it you push the golf ball down and it goes, I guess you use it to
read the greens?
Read the greens, right? You set the ball on the top, it rolls down, and Diesel, they didn't move it.
Is that like the little plastic dinosaur that you had to use at the bowling alley?
It's exactly what it is.
Okay.
So this guy he was doing a video about how hard the game of golf is that I don't remember the word he used describing greens. I'm going to use flawed or imperfect. It was something similar to that, but he took 5 balls and had the dinosaur, right, the roller coaster. He had it in the same spot. And he took ball 1, rolled it, ball 2, rolled it, ball 3, ball 4, ball 5. And the dinosaur, the contraption, somebody's yelling right now at the radio, telling me every ball was a little bit different.
It's like a Hot Wheels ramp almost.
Every ball was different, and the thing never moved. Look, the release point on the ball was the same every time. He didn't throw it or push it. He just dropped it, let it roll, and it just showed that greens are imperfect. They're flawed, and on purpose, right? That's what makes it so tough. Yeah. So I will say this. I hope that Sunday's more entertaining than last year from the sense of Scotty dominated. Sunday last year was like, okay, he's like Denny Hamlin right now, 5 laps on everybody. I hope Sunday has a close finish. That's what I'm hoping for. Close finish on Sunday. Let's get back into the college basketball conversation. For those that just tuned in, Diesel will take a revisit of who won the ESPN Bracket Challenge. Plus, in this very next segment, we'll be joined by the winner of the Bracket Challenge. But I have a question that I think Matt Kraft spurred on Friday and brought it up a little bit yesterday. In this new landscape of college basketball, what is the recipe? What's the formula? What does it take to get it done on the biggest stage? What wins titles in present-day college basketball? I want to hear from you, Tolos. The phone lines are open, 844-326-3663. That is next. wins championships in 2025, and in modern day college basketball, we know that in college football, college baseball, with NIL and the portal having such an effect on the field performances, Diesel, it's fluid. It changes year to year in terms of what it takes. But we've seen March Madness now for as long as we've all watched the best tournament of the year. We've seen the Blue Bloods of Duke, of Kentucky, right, of Syracuse, long-time Blue Blood. The Blue Bloods not be as dominant consistently when it comes to hanging banners. Now, Florida, obviously last night, Diesel, they've been a very good basketball program for a long time. UConn won it the 2 years prior to that, back-to-back. But if someone could figure out what the recipe is, do you think we would see more of a shift in terms of what Duke had? Matt Kraft talked about this yesterday with some younger players, right? Go the more traditional route with recruiting, or a team like St. John's who doesn't know what recruiting is, or teams who really try to use the portal and get veteran players who are 23, 24 years old on the roster. Or are we just at one of those interesting spots in modern-day college athletics, specifically talking about basketball, Diesel, where there's no rhyme or reason? You've got to be active in the portal. You've got to have top dollar to pay best players, but sometimes the best players on the best teams, a la Duke, can't get it done.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a formula for it, Cole, everyone would know it and everyone would do it, and that's the problem. To me, if I was a coach and I was building a team the way that I wanted to build it in the best possible way that I could to give myself the best chance, see, that's where it all comes down to. You build a roster that fits your profile, then you put together a scheme that fits the talents that you've got. I would try to build a team, Cole, out of sophomore transfers, guys that spent a year or two somewhere else at a smaller institution who showed themselves to be talented guys. And they may still be a little bit rough around the edges, but guess what? A guy that spends a year or two at, for example, at James Madison, he gets coached up a little bit, especially if you know the coach and you know his philosophies and his style has some similarities to yours. Then you could say, you know what? We let them go through the rough patch with this guy. I think we here at Florida, with our better coaching, with our better facilities, with our better nutrition, with our better everything, can take this guy from a 6 to an 8 kind of player.
Yeah.
And that's what I would want. I would want a guy with a little bit of experience under his belt, because you can have a guy who's on your roster as a freshman or a sophomore who you even give significant minutes to, but guess what? You got a senior guard who is going to get the bulk of the minutes. And that freshman or sophomore, he's just going to go. Like, there's really not a whole lot you can do to keep him.
Veteranship, if that's a word, matters. Diesel, I also think that there's such and we talked about this with Clemson, or a lack thereof with Clemson. I think there's such an emphasis put on depth. Like, teams that have the depth can get in games like Florida did last night, where their best player doesn't really show up. He's only 11 points for Walter Clayton last night. But you look at the depth that Florida has. We talked about it last week with a 4-man rotation, especially what they do defensively. College sports, with the portal, with NIL, it's hard to have that great depth that Don Staley's had for so many years. But on the men's side, I think that there's not enough emphasis put on depth, because teams that don't have depth, they don't make runs. Like, yeah, you can have one guy go off. You can have one guy just have a historic day. But Diesel, a team in Clemson that had no depth this year, got booted in the very first round. So I just don't look, to your point, if there was a recipe out there, everybody would try to follow that exact recipe. And I think to a degree there is. But you've got to have depth, not only depth, but you've got to have depth that can produce. Z Fink on the YouTube stream with a comment. He says, you've got to be able to recruit and grow talent, fill holes with the portal, and have a really good coach. Shire, honestly, is a good coach, not a great coach. Wow. That's a really interesting comment there, Z Fink. Appreciate the feedback. But I do agree with him. You got to be able to recruit, obviously, and grow talent, homegrown guys, fill holes. Filling holes, though, with the portal. Like, he's right, but I don't think you can just fill holes. I think you have to fill holes with plants that really can produce.
You got to have difference makers.
You got to have difference makers, and I thought Duke had them.
And how do you, if you need to go get 2 or 3 guys, how do you convince 2 or 3 guys that are leaving their institution that they were at because they weren't getting the playing time that they wanted, or they weren't getting the points that they were getting, and they wanted to be a bigger part of this or that element of the game? How do you take those guys who are all sort of wrapped up in a little bit of ego as part of their reason for leaving, and then you get all of them to buy in? See, that's where I'm shocked that we haven't seen more coaches that come up in the AAU and the travel ball world becoming big-time college head coaches, because this is one of the toughest jobs they have to do. They have to figure out not only how to coach a team to win a national championship, but they got to do it quick, right?
They've got one shot.
1 year with a lot of these guys. There is no John Shire saying, okay, God, we were close this year, but let's run it back with all they're all freshmen and sophomores. Guess what? I get them for like 2 or 3 more years. That doesn't exist.
And you really don't even have them for a year. You've got him for like 7 months. I mean, I think Zion was on Duke's campus for
bag of Cheetos and
I think he got there in probably midsummer, and I would say he was gone in March. So yeah, I mean I think you're there for 7 or 8 months. That's what's mind-boggling, and I think we talked about that's what makes it so difficult.
But that with that Duke situation, you got a tremendous amount of young talent. You got a bunch of NBA guys on that roster.
Yeah.
Who clearly need more time to gel together. I have no doubt that if they ran it back and Cooper and Kahn came back next year,
tough.
They would be an insanely good basketball team and would probably be right back there to the Final Four because they would just have more time under their belt. But again, you don't get those guys. But you look at Florida, which had a lot of junior and senior leadership. You look at Houston, that had a lot of junior and senior leadership. I think leadership and experience will beat out better talent.
Sure.
When your rosters are still pretty close.
Drew Topia on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line says, not a whole lot of TRBS folks in the top 10. Nice work, Tolos. That's right. Bubba Brooks 86 says on the text line, or ask, just out of curiosity, would you prefer a Tiger type of domination on the tour or a good mix of constant good competition? It's a great question. We actually talked about that a couple of weeks ago. We'll bring that back up. That's a great question. JD says, to me, it's all about defense, grabbing rebounds, being able to push the ball down the court and transition. Seems to be a really good recipe. I agree with that. But, Diesel, let's go to the phone lines where we bring in the winner, the champion of all of the, and correct me, 100 and something entries we had in the ESPN Wire-to-Wire Bracket Challenge that was infiltrated by TRBSers. I love how you put that earlier in the show. JB, play-by-play JB. We have several different JBs that are Tolos, but play-by-play JB was the winner. He came in first place, and he joins us now to celebrate, to brag, to give us secrets, insight on how to be great like play-by-play JB. Or is it very simple of just having the name JB because the first two were JB, play-by-play JB, and then YouTube JB. What's up, man?
Hey, man, what's happening?
What's the secret? What's the recipe? Congratulations.
Well, thank you. I think I'm a big Duke fan, and I had Duke in the Final Four, and I had to go with Houston is really physical, and, the competition in ACC was not great this year, and I thought Houston would be a little too much for them. So I was torn because I'm a Duke fan. Do I hope Duke wins, or do I hope do my pick win? So after Houston won, I was happy. But yeah, I just basically went with my head this time and just thought. And usually I do a few brackets, but this year I just did one and just really went with my gut and just went with it.
JB, and I'm looking at your bracket right now. If people looked at your first round, and can you remember where you were in the overall rankings after the first round? Because you got 7 out of the 32 matchups incorrect in the first round. Usually that's not a recipe for going all the way to the title and winning this thing, baby, but you did it. So, do you remember where you were after that round of 32?
No, I was probably I was definitely lower on the rankings, I'm sure. But luckily, I went 52-11, and so
wow.
After that, I only missed 4. On the right side, I only missed 2. Period. And so that was a really cool thing. But yeah, like I said, I went with my gut and just went with one bracket instead of trying to figure out how to get 2 teams in there, or if this team wins, I win, or if this team wins, I just did one bracket. But yeah, I started off, average, and then I caught fire, luckily, the rest of the rounds.
JB, you had 7 of the Elite 8 teams correct, and then the Final 4, you had every single one of those correct. You picked Florida Houston in the national championship. Is that right? Am I right on that?
Right.
And
yeah.
then here, listen to this. What was you were a little high on the over, but I mean that to have the Houston Florida national championship picked, I that's commendable. Did you believe? Here's what Diesel and I thought. We picked Florida to win it just like you did, but when I saw how Duke was playing, I said, "Oh boy, did you have confidence that Florida was going to win it no matter what?"
No, especially last night. I turned it off when Houston went up 12, and I kept up with it on my phone. And then I turned it back, and Florida had just taken the lead, so I finished watching it. But no, I didn't have a lot of confidence last night, especially. And then Saturday when Auburn was winning the first half. So yeah, I was not confident there for a while, but they've came back a few times during this tournament, so I had a little hope. It's kind of funny. My Sunday school class this week was talking about hope, so. Had a little hope during the Saturday and then last night, and luckily the Gators were 2 points better than the Cougars.
Well, JB, where I think you did so well is you limited the damage on a lot of these picks. You didn't reach a ton and get picks wrong early and then have that cost you points for multiple rounds after that, like I did. I thought Auburn was going to go out early, and that really put me all the way at the bottom of the rankings. But I think that's probably where you ended up scoring the most points. I think the only spot that I look at where you maybe did that was with the Arkansas pick over St. John's, or the St. John's pick over Arkansas, I should say, and that cost you some points in 2 picks. But you did a great job of sort of isolating the damage there and not letting one bad pick cost you for 3 or 4 rounds.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I said, I just went with my gut this time. There's going to be a 5-12 upset, but if you go guessing, which one of those you're going to pick, and you miss the wrong one, so you're going to get 2 wrong there.
That's right.
So it's just like, just really trying to, unless my gut is telling me that a 12 is going to be the 5, or it's going to be close, or I might pick an upset. But the rest of the time, I just try to go chalk until later rounds.
Play-by-play JB, the winner of the ESPN Wired Wire Bracket Challenge. And for those that don't know you, JB, you do a lot just like I do with high school football, with not your alma mater, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but with Blue Ridge here in the Upstate with their football broadcast on the Internet. Tell us a little bit about what you do on Friday nights as well.
Well, as a matter of fact, we do Blue Ridge High School. We're with Upstate Prepcast right now. We carry 5 schools. They just added Blue Ridge a couple years ago, and our crew does every Blue Ridge football game on Friday night, and I'm lucky to do the play-by-play. And then we do every Blue Ridge home girls and boys basketball games, and 5 softball and 5 baseball. Like I have a baseball game tonight.
That's awesome.
But I enjoy that a lot. It's a passion now for sure.
JB, I'm going to give you a little preview of the next segment. I'll give you the first crack at answering the question. Is this now your biggest sports flex? By that I mean, is this the thing that you will brag about when it comes to sports as your biggest sports accomplishment?
Maybe number 3, because I'm in my high school athletic hall of fame. And
I like that.
And then secondly, I'm a state champion basketball coach, 2005. Greer won the 3A state championship, and I was on that staff for 11 years. So, and that would have to be probably third, I would assume.
Wow, I like it. That's pretty good. JB, congratulations, man. Appreciate you, and let's do it again next year.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Play-by-play, JB. The crown goes to him. How about that,
And
man?
there you go. Tolo's a preview of the very next segment. What is that thing for you in sports that you would say is your biggest flex? Could be an accomplishment you had on the field, could be winning like an upset picks challenge or this bracket challenge or something like that. We'll get those answers from you on the other side of the break next. I love these Tolos and the interaction. As soon as we ask the question, bam, they're on it in the comments section, asking about your biggest sports flexes. Because, Cole, I was watching an Instagram video that was like a man on the street style interview at SMU tailgates and inside of the football stadium at an SMU game. And they were asking about each person's biggest financial flex, which just made me feel bad about myself. Like some of these kids, like college kids, were saying things like, yeah, you see this watch right now that I'm wearing? Costs $300,000. Get the hell out of here. Yeah, another one says, my dad owns 3 private jets and rents them out. Another one said, I've been to multiple Super Bowls and a couple of World Series. One was a sophomore who already has 2 houses paid off. I hate SMU now.
Yeah.
They can get lost. There's a lot of money.
And the dead in the the city, dead in the center of the city is the words I was looking for there of Dallas. So, yeah, there's some daddy's money there for sure.
A lot of money there. So it made me wonder the question, which Tolo of ours has the biggest and best sports flexes? It can be something you accomplished as an athlete. It could be a wild game that you actually attended, a piece of memorabilia that you own, something like that. Your biggest sports flex. And the Tolos are on it already. JD on the stream says, his is that he batted .465 his senior year of high school. Would you get 4 at-bats, JD? No, he says 32 singles and a triple. Wow. Dude was on the ball that year. Says Zach's dad was actually our scorekeeper, and I was 16 for 16 in stolen bases. That's huge. That's a sports flex right there.
I like it.
That .465 in his senior year. Kane says he has won many Mario Kart tournaments against the wife and kids. He is unstoppable.
That's the best one. That's the best one. I mean, that's the biggest flex there is.
Well, my wife beats me at Mario Kart, and I don't understand how. Like she knows the strategy to like wait until I'm about to cross the start-finish line and then hit me with one of those red turtle shells. She gets me every single time. Cole, what is your biggest sports flex? I mean, you're play-by-play for Burns.
Yeah, that's not really a flex.
I'd say that it is.
No,
come on, give yourself some credit for that.
I would say running the 5.240.
Oh,
I mean, come on.
You mean the asterisk 5.2?
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I have a great one. I did love being able, when I worked for the Cowboys, I love being able to take my badge and get anywhere access to the stadium.
That's awesome.
And walk any day, anytime into the stadium.
They gave you full access?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I could walk
that's really
anytime.
Cool.
It's a good one.
Not many people can say that they have been employed by an NFL team. That's huge. Going to the text line, which is, by the way, 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-326-3663, the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line. Let's see. Jeff R. says he threw a last-minute touchdown in his senior year to win the state championship.
Wow.
We got a title-winning quarterback in here.
That.
I love it. Tolo Steve says, I was at Lynn Barker's perfect game in Cleveland, Ohio, when they beat the Toronto Blue Jays.
Wow.
To say you were there for a perfect game, that's big. Texter says, I was on the state title-winning football team all 4 years of high school in South Carolina and married my high school sweetheart who won high school nationals for dance twice.
Wow.
She still holds it over me since DF, I don't know what that means, didn't have a national presence during our run.
Is that Dutch Fork?
Dutch Fork, maybe?
Let us know where you went. I mean, if you won a state championship 4 years, that could make sense.
Hurricane Jeff says he won the state championship with his high school baseball team, and that he.
I like it.
The other was pitching against Jose Canseco in a semi-pro league and striking him out 3 times.
I like that.
Are you serious, Hurricane Jeff? Is that why they call you Hurricane? Because you had an arm like a hurricane?
He did. Hit you
That's
like a
awesome.
hurricane. Yeah, it was Dutch Fork. Texter said, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Wow.
That's a good flex.
We got some accomplished Tolos here.
That's a really good flex there.
Now mine feels like chintzy
By the way, are you still listening from like Columbia or are you listening from up here? I mean, I know 803 area code there, Texter, so let us know where you're listening from. Jarrett Tripp said, I played disc golf and won the South Carolina State Junior Disc Golf Championship back-to-back years. That's hard. I tried disc golf. It is hard, man. I was not good at disc golf whatsoever.
How many did you lose? Discs.
Well, I saw them. I saw where they went. They just went opposite of where they were supposed to. I didn't enjoy it.
That's fair.
I don't enjoy things that I'm not good at, so I'd never play it again. It was my first and my last. But, Tolos, let's keep the interaction going in the very next segment, because earlier in the show, this is like 2 or 3 segments in one, but earlier in the show when I mentioned polling the audience about the Masters, we had like 3 or 4 quick texts. So, I want to know. That's what I'm going to do. That's what we're going to do in the next segment. We're going to poll the audience and find out how many of you are watching and excited about the Masters. We need a grasp on just how many of you consider or call yourself golf fans. That and more next. biggest sports flex. Jeff R. says, Cole, I love you, but I feel like you're really good at watching sports, but never really good at playing any. No, that's why, Jeff, I didn't play at the highest level in high school, at varsity, college. I can talk about them, but I can't play them. Some people can play them, but can't talk about them.
That is very prevalent among sports show hosts.
Yeah.
I mean, especially back in the day. Now that all the athletes are coming out of their careers and saying, you know what, I could go be a podcaster too. Ooh, makes it tough.
You know, some of them can. Some of them do a really good job at it. Some of them cannot. Some of them, best athlete you ever saw, couldn't do it. Let's see. Texter says, yeah, he moved to Greenville 2 years ago for work from Cola, the one talking about Dutch Fork. That's awesome. Bucka Brooks says he blocked a field goal by Ryan Suckup and ran over by Brandon Spikes when he got an interception. That might be the best one.
You know, Bubba and I have just discovered that we're from the same hometown.
No way.
Yeah, he went to St. Stephen's. I went to Hickory. We were rival high schools.
Wow.
Yeah, man, right there across, like probably 10 miles, 15 miles separate the two schools. He's an 04 graduate. I was an 02 graduate. Man, we should hang out and have a beer.
That is that's a heck of a brag right there.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
that
good.
you're going to find a better one than that. And Brandon Spikes, by the way, went to Crest High School, just right across the border up there. So local guy, obviously pretty good at Florida when he went on to college. Want to poll the audience. So much to get to in this segment. I have a text message I'm going to read from my phone, Diesel, but I want to poll the audience first and let these start trickling in. It's 5 o'clock on a Tuesday. It's beautiful outside. Nobody's staying home and working from home today because of the rain. People are interacting. They're driving. I don't know why being nice outside makes a difference compared to yesterday. But I want to poll the audience on if you are watching / excited for the Masters. Very simple. Very simple participation. You don't have to be a straight A student to participate. You have to have fingers and a keyboard. That's it. If you want to call, you can call as well. But fingers and a keyboard is all that's required in this participation. Yes or no? Are you interested in the Masters? Diesel and I need a good grasp of how many of you are. If 0% of you are interested, we wouldn't talk about it. If half of you are, I don't know that texter earlier said, Cole, you really don't think it'll be 50-50? Let me see if I can find that text. I don't think it'll be 50-50. I really don't.
I love golf. I think you underestimate just how many of our Tolos love the Masters and
They
just
might.
eat it up.
They
because
might.
It's fun.
Let's see.
It's fun watching. I love watching high-level tournaments, especially at much more difficult courses than I would ever play, because I get to watch the pros struggle like me every time I'm out there on the course.
I'll be watching. I look forward to it. I really do, especially Thursday and Friday as we're on air, right? Being able to talk about it and watch some golf live. I really do enjoy it. And I'm not a golf fanatic by any means. But when I asked that earlier, Diesel, I had like 2 or 3 no's right off the bat. So I was surprised. So the text line, the Hub City Spartanburgers text line to all of you in the upstate is 844-326-3663. It's really smart if you just save that number in your phone as the Fan Upstate because it works for our show, the Rob Brown Show. You can text it. You can call it. I want to know, simple, yes or no. You can put a little bit more in there if you want to as well, but we need to know how many of you are watching the Masters this weekend. Again, the only reason I was surprised and I'm asking this is because there was a couple of quick no's earlier when I brought it up. So let us know on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. While those come in, Diesel, do you ever get like a spam call or a spam text and lead them on purpose?
Sometimes, yeah. Like I've been watching a lot of these YouTube videos about like scammer payback, and it makes me want to mess with them. The problem is, Cole, so many of these scam calls are like phishing, so they're just trying to see if you'll answer the phone and engage.
Well,
and
they
then
got
when
me.
you do that, you get more and more and more of them.
They got me at 4:39, which was what? Almost 30 minutes ago. I got a text and the reason I texted back is because it was blue. So I said, okay, it might be legit, right? It's blue, it's iPhone, good person, right? People Android.
Scammers only use Android?
I don't know. So the text said barbecue tomorrow. Obviously the number was not in my contacts. It's a 202 area code. I responded back. with who's this, right? To see if I knew who it was and forgot I was supposed to have a meeting tomorrow, meeting somebody for barbecue tomorrow. The text back said, is this Jessica? This is Mona. So I said back, yes, this is Jessica. She said, sorry, I just checked it carefully. My assistant gave me the wrong number. I hope I didn't disturb your wonderful day. I texted back and said, so we're not going to eat barbecue?
Oh, man.
I was upset. I was looking forward to it. She said, wonderful day, wonderful acquaintance. And again, this sounds fake. You're a great guy, and if you're in California, you're welcome to join us.
That just reminded me. I want to let you finish your
No, that's
story,
it.
but I got one of those last week.
Yeah, I said, have some brisket for me, and that was it.
I got a text message and I didn't realize that I was being fished at first. I don't even know if I still have it.
So you think that's what I was being fished?
Oh,
just
yeah,
now?
you were being fished. Oh, yeah. They
So
were
they didn't
totally
really
trying
wanna
to
eat-
see
they
if they
didn't
could get you to
wanna eat barbecue
engage.
tomorrow.
Yeah, they were like actively stealing your information. Now, I got one from just a random 407 area code that said, hey, is this Jeff? I was like, no, this is not Jeff. Oh, sorry, I was trying to reach my golf instructor. And I was supposed to have a lesson this afternoon. I just want to make sure I've got the right time. So I don't remember what I said back and forth, but it started a conversation because, like, well, I'm a golfer. This person's a golfer. I said, hey, I'm a 20 handicap. You don't want my advice. And so they're like, oh, well, thanks for getting back to me, letting me know I had the wrong number.
Yeah.
I would have thought all day that I had texted the right person. By the way, if you're ever in L.A., I'll buy you a cup of coffee. It's like, well, I'm never going to be in L.A.
Yeah.
And then for like 3 days on after that, I was getting text messages saying, like, hey, my name is Alice. I'm a 36-year-old person from the Philippines. And like it started to spiral, right?
So you
like,
think I'm going to get texts tomorrow? And
oh,
more
God,
calls
yeah.
tomorrow because of that?
Yeah. You better change your bank account passwords now, buddy.
Oh, God, don't tell me that.
It's
really,
bad.
Really don't tell me that. All right, let's do a little checking here on the question. If you just tuned in, if you just got off of work from the job that you absolutely hate and just got in the car that you absolutely hate and are headed home to the family that you absolutely I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're asking the question. We're doing a simple poll here of your interest. Are you watching the Masters? Yes or no? On the stream, let's see. Zach said yes. Matt Therapy said yes. Did Kane answer or did Kane just – I don't know. Kane actually didn't answer. Imagine that. On the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line, Tolo Steve says yes, I'll be watching. Texter from the 432 says yes. 321, yes. 285, yes. G says, I love the Masters. 376 says, I hope we get some Masters talk. I'm a definite yes. Texter, we did at 345. So if you have the Odyssey app, AUDACY, you can go back and check it and listen. Jarrett Tripp said, I want golf almost every weekend and also play almost every weekend. So, of course, I'm watching. Sometimes I'm actually playing golf while watching the Masters. That would be fun, right? Watching it on your phone. Here we go.
Does it make you a better golfer, Jarrett?
Probably not. JD, Resident Tolo. I'll be watching the Masters because what am I supposed to watch? Gamecock baseball? That's a hard no. I like that. Here's the first no, Diesel. 237 says hard no to pasture pool. There's your first one. 828. This is Dave Tyner. The Masters, yes, really looking forward to it. I watch even the regular tournaments on Saturdays and Sundays. Texter from the 436 says not watching it. 706 says I love watching when the weather's perfect and greens are dry and fast and you get the real winter. By the way, Diesel, in the last or a couple of breaks ago, I looked at the weather for Augusta. It's 70s, high 70s, not a lot of chance of rain, so it should be really, really good weather this weekend.
I think we need to get you out on the course, Cole. I play, Rob plays. I'll
drive
man,
the golf car.
That's
that
totally
count?
fine if that's what you want to do. You can go out there and swing a golf club. You can be bad at it. You can, you shoot 4 shots and you just pick it up and say, all right, that's enough. I don't want to play this hole anymore.
Here's what I'd do. I've told my buddies I would do this. I have buddies that golf. If there was a Tolo out there who knew of someone who gave affordable golf lessons, I'd do it. If they were in the morning when I could work them in, right? I would take lessons. I would like to be good, but I'm not going to go play or try until I take lessons. That's my mindset.
Here's the problem. getting good at golf, unless you are just a savant and you never knew that you were, it's going to take the rest of your life, Cole.
Yeah, that's why that doesn't sound fun to me.
That's the problem.
That doesn't
like,
sound fun.
You could go out there with no lessons. Like once you get your swings sort of halfway quasi figured out, you go out there and shoot like a 90 or 100, which is not bad for a beginner golfer. If you can shoot under 100, you're playing pretty well. And then you start taking all your lessons, you start buying up new clubs, and all of a sudden that score slowly starts coming down, and then you realize, man, I am never going to shoot. I'm never going to shoot a 68 on Sunday.
My buddy
it's
Brandon,
never gonna happen.
My buddy Brandon, who watches and listens to the show, he's a Tolo. He told me the other day we were hanging out this past weekend actually, and he told me he bought a new set for $1,800. And I said, no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I'm good.
Well, see, playing golf and buying golf clubs kind of like gambling. You just have this belief.
But I already have
like,
too many expensive hobbies.
If I just spend another $500 on a new driver,
you'll be good.
It's gonna fix everything about my game. Like I'm gonna hit it straighter. I'm gonna stay out of trouble more. I'm gonna be set up for my second and third shots more often. You're not. A new driver is not going to keep you from blasting it 40 yards right into the woods. It's not going to happen. You got to take lessons for that.
I already fish. That's expensive. I already hunt. That's expensive. I don't need another expensive hobby. I like doing other things. Spartanburg J says, absolutely, I'm watching. Lefty Tiger says, sure will be. Best event of the year. Texter from the 828 says, the Masters watching, ... not no, but hell, all caps, no. Too boring. So, Diesel, I think we've had 3 no's out of, let's call it 20 total responses in the first, 10 minutes or so, 20, 25 responses. So most of the Tolos that are listening today on this Tuesday at 5 o'clock are watching the Masters, which is good. You should be.
So do you ever watch golf on TV?
I love watching golf.
Do you like watching the main feed that jumps around between all the different golfers, or do you watch like I watch on the ESPN app on Roku, and you can pick select groups. It'd be like the Rory group or the Colin Morikawa group, and you'll stay with that group for their entire round.
No, I usually watch the main one that bounces.
See, I like the group streams. I love those.
I really do. I like the bounce around.
I want to watch every shot somebody takes, but that's also because I watch a lot of golf YouTube where you watch. I mean, I realize how dull it is to watch somebody play an entire round of golf on YouTube, but I do it anyway.
I also do enjoy watching the. I don't like him as a golfer, but I do enjoy watching Bryson's videos on YouTube. They're funny, they're entertaining, especially with like John Daly and things like that. I do enjoy watching those. I've watched probably 6 or 7 of them, maybe total. I went last year to the Quail Hollow. I'm going to the PGA Championship in person this year, so I enjoy seeing it, especially in person. It got my interest. Last year when I was there in person, got tickets again to go back. So I enjoy going. I think going and seeing it in person's so much fun. It's so much fun in person. Not as fun watching it on TV, but no, I will absolutely watch this weekend. Let's see, any more do we missed? Mad Therapy says, oh my gosh, where do you start? Y'all know I love golf, both playing and watching, but if there was only one golf event you covered all year, it should be the Masters. It's also local. Absolutely. Madcraft wants an invite to play golf. I wonder how good of a golfer I keep saying Madcraft. I'm sorry, Mad Therapy. I wonder how good of a golfer he is.
Time to just change it back because we're not going to.
I know, Mad Therapy is hard. He says, Cole, even with lessons, the only way to improve is to play, period. But if I go out there, here's the problem with that. If I go out there and play and spend all this money to get tee times and clubs and diesel, and if I'm doing the wrong thing over and over and over, that does no good for me.
Well, the barrier to entry is not as high as you think it is. You can go get like a budget set off of Amazon, and some of them are not bad. Costco, you can get a budget set of golf clubs at Costco. They're all Callaways for like $200. It's not bad. And then you realize, okay, now you're out on the course and you're paying $40, $50 for tee times. You got to buy the shoes. You got to buy the gloves. Got to buy a bunch of golf balls up front because you're going to lose a bunch of golf balls. Oh, yeah, you got to buy tees. Yeah. You got to get a hat. You got to get one of those little ball marker things so that you can find. I mean, there's a lot to it.
This doesn't sound. I don't want to spend more money. I don't want to do that.
Or you could just rent. You just rent.
I'll just go to Top Golf.
And truly, you have to play. If you want to get like decent at golf, you have to play probably like twice a week.
Yeah.
And that's really difficult.
Since when did JD, and I'm 99% sure that's JD, since when did JD become a golf, what do you call
Instructor?
it? Instructor. I mean, he's offering to give me golf lessons. I mean, I'm not that desperate, JD. Since when do you play golf? Do you play golf? Is JD good at golf and I didn't know about it?
Would you consider yourself coachable?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I mean, I know I am gonna suck.
Well, no, but if somebody tells you to do something, will you do it, or do you like? Well, I think I should do it this way, or I think I should do it that way.
Why would I do that? I don't know anything about it. Corn Chip says
well,
I'll
you
play
and my wife are not the same then, because if I try to give her golf tips, she gets angry at me, and I'm just trying to help.
But you don't. Yeah, I mean, if you don't know anything about it, you should take. Corn Chip says, I'll play around with you, Cole. We can be bad together since I've only played one round 10 years ago. Corn Chip, that's a good idea. Again, who's paying? I mean, we got to pay for a tee time. Those are expensive AF, right? Those aren't, I mean, it's not free. So
well, we have the Upstate golf cards. You can get out and play for a lot less, Cole.
I can go to Top Golf and eat chicken wings and
But that
watch
Top Golf's
TV.
really expensive. You go to Top Golf for like 2 hours, and you've spent what you would spend on like 3 rounds of golf.
But I can eat. It's
You
fun.
can eat at the golf course, too. They got hot dogs at the turn, my friend.
Hot dogs at the turn. Let's see. Texter says, the best thing you need to do is just play once. As soon as you stroke a ball perfectly once, you'll have the itch.
That sounds dirty, Texter.
No, not that. Texter says, bro, I've been playing golf since I was 4. Oh, JD.
That's my and Ashley's retirement plan. We're going to put a set of golf clubs, not us playing golf. We're going to put a set of golf clubs in our kids' hand and make them be good at golf.
Yeah.
And then we'll be set for life after that.
Texter says, I've had the Upstate golf card 3 years running. I think that's JD as well. Also, a texter from the 828 says, Cole, the golf pro at Rolling Green, Alan Dacus, goes to my church, gives golf lessons for a super affordable price, says Dave Tyner. So there you go, right? Maybe I can. Where's Rolling Green at? Do you know?
Rolling Green is
Greenville,
way out
I'm
in
guessing.
Pickens, I think.
Dave.
Is that the one that's way out in Pickens?
Dave.
Am I right about
You want
that?
me to drive to Pickens? From Bowling Springs to Pickens to learn how to play golf? Y'all, I'm telling you, I don't know. Y'all better find me a golf instructor in Spartanburg.
I think Rolling Green is the one that's got 27 holes, too.
Well, did it just, I mean, what was the purpose of that?
I think it was probably 2 golf courses that
Oh,
were
they just
side by side.
combined
They combined them, or they just had the extra space and they said, you know what, let's tack on another 9 holes. See, I love that course. It's not like in the best shape.
Easily.
Okay, so it's an Easley address.
But it's Pickens County.
It is in Pickens County.
Yeah. Easily address, yep.
Yeah, so you can pick which hole you want to tee off on, and you pick which 2 sets of 9 holes you want to play. Do you want to play, 1 through 9? Yeah, and play 1 through 18, or would you rather play 10 through 27?
Or 0. Texter says, yeah, it's up north of Easley. JD says, yes, Rolling Greens is Pickens. Okay, 27. Again.
That's the closest I ever came to hitting a hole-in-one at Rolling Green. We played the first day after it had been raining for like 4 straight days, and I plugged a golf ball on a par 3 like 4 inches from the hole. But the greens were so wet that the ball sunk more than halfway down into the ground.
Matt Therapy says, for 3 years, I played 2 rounds a week, once Friday afternoon, once with a group on the weekend. Friday's improving, weekend's competitive. Look, I get it. It takes a lot of time and dedication, too, and money, right, that you're going to throw into it. So I don't know if I have the hobby space. Maybe I could squeeze it in. I mean, it helps that I'm single, but if I took up golf, too, I mean, my God, we have no life.
Yeah. Well, we're
golf.
both busy dudes. Like, we got a lot of show prep to do. We got to be on the air at 3 o'clock. It's difficult to, get up and play, a 6 a.m. round of golf, which takes a couple of hours. Then you got to get home. Then you got to relax a little bit, get cleaned up, start show prep, get here, and be on the air at 3 o'clock. That's hard to do.
Yeah, try owning a little small business, too. And, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I don't think I have time. Trying to make $1.
Texter says, does a hole-in-one on a simulator count?
Should.
No.
Ah.
No, it doesn't. It counts about as much as getting a hole-in-one on Golden Tee.
The game. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
the game.
Smitty was playing when he was talking to us that day, right?
When we come back, Cole, on the other side of the break, it's something I've been saying on this show for a long, long time. And finally, smart people in the coaching profession are paying attention to and echoing my sentiment on a change that they think should come to college football. That's coming your way next on the Fan Upstate. Cole, you want to take a wild guess at what the University of Alabama, for example, spends on its athletic department budget all in, total?
Per year?
Per year.
$68 million. Just
you're cute.
Throwing something out there.
In 2024,
Yeah.
Alabama spent $234.8 million
Okay, so I was a little low.
athletically, $140 million of which was just for football. Spent $140 million.
Probably
in
68
football.
just on freaking, women's. That's unbelievable.
Now-
200 and what?
$240 million. 260, sorry. Now take a wild guess at what Grambling State spends on football each year.
A few million.
$10 million.
Okay.
So the gulf is wide, is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say. But the problem is, Cole, that the Alabamas, maybe not Alabamas, but probably like the Troys or the Georgia Southerns or the App States and maybe a Vanderbilt or a Missouri or somebody like that comes along and says, hey, coach down there at Grambling State, I really like that running back you got down there. We'll take him. Thank you very much. And that is where we are in college football with the transfer portal and NIL and inducements, which are supposed to be illegal, but everybody knows everybody's doing it. You got small schools who can't even pretend to compete financially with other institutions, constantly losing the talent that they have discovered, that they have spent time and money coaching up, and they're tired of it. They are tired of losing out on their talent. And some people will say, well, tough, you know what, my friend? That's the way of the world. But here's a quote, Cole, and I want to see what you think about this, from Grambling State head coach Mickey Joseph on what he thinks needs to change when it comes to college football. Now, let me back this up.
We understand. We understand. I think the kids understand if they're here and if they're sophomores and they have a big year and a group of five or a power five approach them and they have the finances to pull them out of there and I can't match the finances, then you know what? They're going to go. That's part of it. Coach has been doing it for years. So we shouldn't get mad as coaches when these kids make decisions to take care of their family. Like I said, I'm going to say it again. Coach has been doing it for years. But I also think there need to be a buyout. If they move up for me and go to group of five and power five, I should get kind of a compensation for that, you know? So NCAA, if you're listening to me, I need a buyout.
100%.
Yeah, I like the
agree.
buyout. I really like the buyout keep it up. I want to hear it one more time, the full thing through. I like what he said. He's right. It happens.
I like the very pragmatic approach. Is like, you know what? These kids, a lot of them come from nothing.
Yeah.
If an opportunity comes along, can't blame them.
Let me hear it one more time.
Here we go.
We understand. We understand. I think the kids understand if they're here and if they're sophomores and they have a big year and a group of five or a power five approach them and they have the finances to pull them out of there and I can't match the finances, then you know what? They're going to go. That's part of it. Coach has been doing it for years. So we shouldn't get mad as coaches when these kids make decisions to take care of their family. Like I said, I'm going to say it again. Coach has been doing it for years. But I also think there need to be a buyout. If they move up for me and go to group of five and power five, I should get kind of a compensation for that, you know? So NCAA, if you're listening to me, I need a buyout.
So here's the difference in the situation that we have right now with coaches, that we've had with coaches for decades, versus the situation that we have with players. If a coach moves on somewhere else, the school is compensated for his early termination of his contract. So if a coach at Georgia Southern has a great season, and all of a sudden, you know, Memphis comes along or Florida State comes along and says, hey, we'd really like to hire you over here. Well, it's in his contract that the institution that's taking him has to pay the buyout.
Which is,
and they get to use that money in their coaching search and, you know, sign-on bonuses and whatever else. So they are financially compensated. It stinks that they're losing the guy that they really like, but at least they're getting something for it. That doesn't happen in college football.
Yeah, it should.
If a big school comes and plucks a kid away from a smaller school or another big school, there's no recompense for the school that's losing their asset for that.
I would like to know when a player leaves, if we were to have buyouts, if you're talking about making amends or whatever it is, the player's not going to pay the buyout.
Nope.
The school that he's going to I don't think that's the problem. I don't know that they're going to want to pay it either. And look, I think it's a great idea. I think it should be implemented. I was talking about this with somebody the other day with college athletics. He said there should be. It might have been Lane when I had Lane in here Friday for an hour. It might have been Lane, but there was somebody talking about buyouts, and I 100% think there should be buyouts because, to your point with coaches. What was the coach's name that
Mickey Joseph?
Mickey Joseph. To his point as well. He's losing an asset.
Mm-hmm.
So how is he going to be compensated for the asset that he's losing? I think they're 110% should be, but I just don't know that you're going to be able to get those other schools that are taking them to pay it. They have the money. We know that.
Yeah.
But
now what you're asking is for the NCAA to do something specifically for the smaller schools that are constantly losing their best players. That's where they get themselves into a point where this is never going to happen, right? Because the NCAA only ever does anything, and especially when we come to a breakaway conference. Alabama and Michigan and Southern Cal and whoever, Texas, they don't give a rip what happens to UTSA. If they pull a running back or a wide receiver or a quarterback out of UTSA, they don't care because it benefits them. It benefits the big school because guess what? I just got an asset that the coach down there at UTSA spent 2 years coaching up. He took him from a 4 to a 6. We can take him from a 6 to an 8, put him on our roster, and potentially use him to go win games. So the NCAA would have to, number one, they'd have to have some teeth. Number two, they would have to treat everyone fairly and equally, whether you're at a huge school or a small school. And we all know that's not going to happen.
Texter says, I think this is JD. That sounds familiar. You're welcome,
Yes,
D.
JD, thank you for sending that over. You sent that over last week. I found it fascinating because it's something I brought up on this station a while back, that needs to happen. With the transfer portal, when the injured party, which is the school losing a player, loses an asset, they should be compensated for that because not only did they coach a guy up and not only are they losing a player off of their roster, but they're also losing a player that they just pumped tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars into to get them to the point where insert big school name here wanted to come and take them off their roster.
And that's the bad part. Like there's no fixing it. And again, I'm not saying there's not a better solution out there, but I'm just saying I don't see a fix to it. And yeah, you're right. Small schools are in a tough spot because if you have a coach out there who's, let's say, a really good coach who does a really good job recruiting a player who's a really good player and maybe has a gem, right, a hidden gem that nobody else – well, guess what? It's not going to take long for other people to find out about them and vanish. Bam. So while the player has a great year at a Grambling State or wherever it may be, while it does benefit the coach and the program and the athletics department, it's going to come back to bite them because that good player with the money, we're seeing it in college basketball, not just football, we're seeing it in college basketball. The money from the big dogs, you can't compare it.
It's like you want your stars to have good years but not great years so that they are not being snatched away by somebody else. I think there needs to be a financial figure on a Cole of 50% of the cost of attendance for that player that graduates up and up and up. So it starts a little bit lower, and then it graduates up and up. So if you're taking a guy that's a junior away and bringing him to a bigger school, it's going to cost you more money to transfer in a junior than it is a freshman, right? So if it costs $100,000 to put a guy through school, room and board, tuition, food, all that stuff, costs $100,000. You take him off of a roster after his freshman year, it's going to cost you $25K.
Yeah.
Next year, it's going to cost you $35K. Next year, it's going to cost you $45K. And then, boom. That way the school at least gets half of their expense back, and then they can then use that money to go do the same thing and pluck away a smaller guy from another smaller school than them.
I'd love to see it. I would love to see a solution to it because I do feel bad. Because let me tell you why I feel bad. You have coaches like this guy at Grambling State and probably thousands of other coaches out there who are really good head coaches, who are really good coaches in general, who have invested a lot of time and energy and money into doing what they love. And it's not the same playing field. It's a different league. It's the same sport, but essentially it's a different league. Just like we talked about on Friday, Diesel, when you weren't here, college athletics, like Lane said during that segment, they're professional sports now. There's no other way around it. There's no sugarcoating it. And when you talk about the Grambling States versus the Alabamas of the world, you are allowing a player to go from college to NFL, almost, from going to Grambling State to Alabama, almost the same comparison there, almost the same scenario. They're going from one league to another. So it's not fair. It's not. I don't like it. It stinks for the game. It stinks for the people who are a part of those programs as well. But at the end of the day, like I said, man, I'd be hard pressed to believe there's going to be a change or some aid coming their way. Unfortunately,
this is where we need a college football czar to who has the influence to make something like this happen and force it through. But it'll never happen.
No, Tolos, what else is going on in the sports world? Do you know? Well, we know. We have our daily wires. If you haven't checked out, maybe this is your first time listening. It's the top headlines in sports. That's next. Well, what else? Turn the mic on. Turn the mic on first before you start talking. That usually helps. What else is going on in the world of sports? It's our Daily Wires. Our opportunity to let you know the headlines, the top stories. The biggest one, man, that surprised the heck out of me today was Denver Nuggets, who have been a powerhouse in the NBA, one of the best teams year in and year out. The Denver Nuggets today fire Michael Malone, sources tell ESPN, and I did not see that coming. I don't know if anybody did. He's a really, really good coach.
Is it smart business to fire a quality head coach?
It happens in the NBA every year, and I can't figure it out. It's an arms race. It's mind-boggling, but Malone is really, really good, and I was shocked.
Can the Hornets hire him?
I'd love it. Maybe the Hornets could fire their coach today and call it. Yeah, I'd love it. Also, for the first time since 2007, if you just came out from under your rock, the Florida Gators are champions. Florida defeated Houston last night by a score of 65-63. Todd Golden's the youngest coach since Jim Valvano to win it all. Jimmy V was 37. Had Houston won, Kelvin Sampson at 69 would have been the oldest coach to win a championship. However, that did not happen. In last night's game, we talked about this yesterday, there were only 128 points scored, Diesel, the lowest since 2014 when UConn won the whole thing against Kentucky. There were 114 points scored that night in a 60-54 contest.
See, I thought the defensive aspect of the game was fascinating. And if there was a more of a focus on defense in the NBA, I think the games would actually be more compelling to watch.
Only problem with that is you've got so much better scores, and it offsets it. I mean, you can play good defense, but sometimes guys are going to shoot 50% from three.
Yeah.
Last night, if you got that, the NCAA men's Final Four games on Saturday averaged 15.3 million viewers on CBS, the most watched since 2017, up 19% from last year, 24% above CBS's last time showing the Final Four in 2023.
That's big. Ratings have been kind of slipping the last couple years for the men's tournament. So to see them hit a big rebound like that, that's great.
Yeah, I think it doesn't surprise me with it being like such a marquee sporting event that happens live that the entire world tunes into. I like it a lot. The NCAA Women's Final Four averaged 3.9 million viewers, a 64% decrease from last year, which broke 10.8, we all know, because of Caitlin Clark and what she meant to the game. 3.9 million viewers still marks the third most watched Final Four in history, but just goes to show how big of an impact Caitlin Clark had on the game last year. Shohei Ohtani got going at the plate Monday night, falling a double short of hitting for the cycle. The three-time MVP homered, tripled, single, he walked, finished 3 of 4 with 2 RBIs, and the Dodgers lost to the Nationals. I'll say that again. The Dodgers lost to the Nationals last night. 6-4 loss. Very surprising. Nice bounce back, though, for Ohtani after he went 1-11 against the Phillies, where they lost 2 of 3. So we'll see. Dodgers are human, I guess. The Braves, Diesel, the 1-8 Braves. I cannot say that with any sense of negativity in my tone because Matt Theater people get mad at me. The 1-8 Braves are back in action tonight versus Philly, who's 7-2. It's Chris Sale versus Chris Wheeler, the battle of the Chris. The Braves are 6 games back in the NL East, so we'll see if the Braves can get it done tonight. Probably not. We'll see. This one's interesting. The Carolina Panthers on Monday, this is not April Fool's, signed a big project to develop as a tight end. Big as in 6'8", 245. Former D1 basketball player Colin Granger will begin his journey into football, Diesel, after 5 years of playing college basketball in Ohio, Western Carolina, and Coastal Carolina this season. Because he is 5 years removed from high school, he was able to sign as a free agent. He was eligible to be drafted by any team last year. Okay, Carolina, what are we doing here, right? Maybe a good thing. Is Carolina onto something that nobody else is, maybe? That's interesting.
Remember the plot point in The Waterboy when other teams were looking around their locker rooms to find potential talent? And Michigan put a towel boy on the field.
Yeah.
Got absolutely decapitated in a Big Ten game.
Same thing, I guess. That's we'll see how that works out for the Carolina Panthers. One of the best at his position announced his retirement Saturday night. If you missed it, Dolphins offensive lineman Terron Armstead announced his retirement, ending his 12-year decorated NFL career. Also in the NFL, quarterback Trey Lance, who has just not panned out. Reached an agreement, though, on a one-year deal worth up to $6.2 million with the L.A. Chargers, sources told Adam Schefter on Friday. Lance and Taylor Heineke are now the backups behind Justin Herbert.
Trey Lance was able to ride the wave of punditry, getting behind a talking point, to the tune of making a lot of money over the course of his career. He's just not a very good quarterback.
Hadn't panned, third stop now. Hadn't panned out, and just we'll see. After dropping 2 of 3 to Mississippi State, the South Carolina Gamecocks, it's been a rough one. They're back in action tonight, hosting USC Upstate. That game about 40 minutes from first pitch as of right now at Founders Park. Clemson baseball in action tomorrow. They'll host Gardner Webb at 7 o'clock. A fantastic weekend for the Tigers out on the West Coast. And speaking of baseball, in yesterday's Division I Top 25, Clemson came in at number 4 in the nation behind Arkansas, Texas, and LSU. Here's a bad one for you regarding South Carolina. This came from Jack Veltri on Twitter on X yesterday. Heading into the week, South Carolina baseball pitching staff holds a 7.41 ERA in SEC play. Only Florida with a 9.70 and Missouri with a 13.40 have worse ERAs, so not good there.
So not only are they not hitting, but their pitching stinks too.
They stink. The whole team. The coach, they stink. Last one for you. Former Mississippi State head coach turned UNLV defensive coordinator Zach Arnett has stepped down, citing personal reasons. Arnett was a small part of Arnett was part of a small Stark Vegas to Las Vegas movement. A former Mississippi State head coach joining the staff of another Mississippi State head coach in Dan Mullen. Those, ladies and gentlemen, are your daily wires.
That one was fascinating, the Zach Arnett retirement. He's only been there for like a year, and he's already out the door. So weird to see that one happen. Hope everything is okay with him and his family. When we come back, we had a great conversation earlier in the show. Cole with Grayson Mann of TigerNet talked about the spring game, got into some of the things that you saw while you were there. Fantastic conversation. If you missed it earlier, we'll bring it to you again on the other side of the break right here on the Fan Upstate. broadcast. Would you say that was accurate?
Yeah, I would say so. It was definitely different, and I'm not sure how many of those in attendance were stuck in line at Little John for the surplus sale that went down and the rage that followed with that. But I think if you're going to describe the spring word in one word, it would be different. Dabo Swinney, with the in-house format that they chose to take, they're not beholden to any ACC network type of commercial breaks, so you really flew through this. It was the quickest 91 minutes that's ever taken place in Death Valley. And so for the fans, I think it was a quick thing to just get some quality looks at the team. Will be the only look for a lot of people until LSU comes to town in August. But for me, just a really, I think, unique way to get the team out there. And I think it provided a little bit of an advantage for Clemson to be able to just have this still, continue that routine. And for a lot of players that we'll talk about today, it was incredibly a much positive step forward for a lot of these guys.
You know what, to your point, Grayson, about it being different or weird, right? I mean, it to me this year more than past years, it truly felt like fans showed up for practice. That's what it felt like for me, which isn't a bad thing. That's ultimately what it was or what it is, right? I want to start with the running back position. We talked about it last week in terms of what Clemson fans would look forward to or who they could expect to see starting at the running back position in August. Well, Adam Randall moved over. Peyton Strico had a touchdown, I believe the first touchdown of the day, Grayson. Is he a guy that you could see featured a little more in that conversation that we had last week?
I'm not entirely sure. I think right now it was probably going to be the three that made the most separation are probably going to be Adam Randall, David Eziamume, and then Gideon Davidson, freshman running back that we discussed about last week. You know, Strecko, a good walk-on story, good product, and one of those things in the spring game where you have a couple that don't normally play very prominent shine. And so when it comes down to that, I think for this running back group, it's a little bit deeper than last year. There's a little bit more trust seeded into last year. And so you have Chris Denson and Strecko lead the first touchdown drive of the day. That's sort of what makes the spring game unique in that sense. And Denson had a heck of a day for himself, as you are playing on the screen right there with Denson and Strecko getting it in. Had a good day. And overall, I think running back is in a better spot than last year, considering once Maffa went down, you sort of hit the panic button. You're like, do we really trust anybody behind them? I think this spring's been a different change of tune. And I think that can ultimately benefit the offense. We saw a lot of two running back sets from Garrett Riley, as opposed to just the one bell cow look that we've seen in 2024. So I think that type of variety can only serve to benefit this group as we head into the fall of 2025.
Grayson, you were privy to us trying to get fancy on the stream and be able to show video.
And Dabo yelling.
Yeah, we're fancy now over here.
He was on the microphone like that.
Oh,
he was
my
the
gosh.
MC.
How many times,
there, man?
How many times, Diesel, I wish you could have heard the PA announcer and Dabo talking over each other. That was the best part. It was Dabo had a mic, the PA guy trying to do his job. You know, I heard a PA guy laugh for the first time ever. He laughed. Did you catch that, Grayson?
Oh, yeah, he was giggling a couple times. I think just because of the nature of it, he's instinctively going to go touchdown. And then you hear Dabo, you're like, oh, here we go. And then he keeps yelling the same name over and over. And I think it just tickled a couple people. I had one person message me, is Dabo going to stop talking, or is this going to be the whole thing? I said, I think you're going to be pretty disappointed. I think he's going to continue to do this for the next few hours or so. So ended up being sort of the master of ceremonies. And I think probably too, a really funny moment that got me was he was getting on Klubnik a little bit, put the mic behind his back, and you could really see the head moving. He was jawing at him, which I just found funny. Let's keep this off air for the fans.
Grayson, let's talk about the opposite of that that touchdown was the pick that came through in the spring game. You know, he's been through a couple of spring games before. And these guys, they're working with coaches and or they're working out on their own basically year-round. That little touch of sloppiness there from a veteran guy, does that give you any pause for concern at all?
Absolutely not. I think that we already know what we got from Cade Klubnik. And I think for fans, it's good to be a little bit more critical of your Heisman potential contending quarterback. And so I think the spring game was less about him and more about the Vizinas, the Densons. What is the future of the position going to look like? And Sweeney has been tough on Klubnik this spring. And I think that's more of a product of we got to get our best guy out there to tighten the chin straps a little bit in Sweeney's mind. So for me, I know a lot of people will probably panic about the interception. It wasn't a great throw by any means, and it wasn't really in rhythm. But I will add, when you're working with receivers who have the no contact jerseys on, you're a little bit less hesitant to throw with the ball. There's a little bit of a rhythm that gets thrown off when you're doing that. And so not a great throw by any means, not trying to certainly defend that pass. And we got the great video here captured by Cole Bryson, man. Like, look at this. Look, basically, you're the problem.
I thought the receiver might have ran the route a little wrong and Cade overthrew it, right?
Yeah, a combination of both. And so fans will probably see that and be like, start to throw the panic button a little bit. But I think with this group, once things begin to settle in and you don't see the green, don't see the yellow, it's just sort of the format of it. I thought Klubnik bounced back particularly well and had a nice seam down the left side of the field to Antonio Williams. That really just was, hey, there's some confidence being built here. Necessarily not worried. I don't think Klubnik was really on my notes on Saturday. It wasn't something, regardless of how it went, I wasn't going to have a major takeaway about what we should expect from QB1 in 2025. Not a great throw, but at the same time, get him in for 3 or 4 series, get his legs warmed up, and then get him out of there.
What about Khalil Barnes, though, with the interception? I mean, you're talking about a guy who, had a good year last year, Grayson, but I think is maybe primed for even better, maybe a breakout year, right?
I think someone that fans are going to be watching for, and it was really funny to hear from Sweeney afterwards that he had spoken with Avion Terrell and Khalil Barnes and was like, we're really putting these jerseys on not for you, but we're doing it for the protection of others because we know you guys like to get out there and hit, and sort of that fun back and forth that came with it. And so I think for Barnes, it's a big year, had a big freshman season, might have been placed out of position at times. I remember one specific instance against FAU. I believe it was either FAU or LA Tech. It's one of those mid-major teams that you end up seeing, and he was sort of put on an island, and it was confused as to why, because he's more of a nickelback with a free roamer safety. So I think under Tom Allen, I'm really excited to see how he utilizes that kind of athleticism in his defense. And I think as the secondary goes through another change with the absence of R.J. Mickens, I think Khalil Barnes is one that has to step up and is certainly capable of doing so.
Yeah, can you go into a little bit more about Tom Allen, the way he sort of performed? That's not the right word, but performed on Saturday. Defense looked good. How was he on the sidelines? Was he as animated on the sidelines as you'd expect him to be?
And so Allen actually, Allen was actually up in the box calling the plays for this. And I think it's always been a discussion of it's really up to Allen where he wants to be. But I think for the spring game, it was just a matter of getting the plays in. But I think from a logistical and operational standpoint, the thing that really stuck out to me, just from whether it was a first-string guy or a third-stringer, the tackling looks much better. And last year, that was a real Achilles heel for this team. And sometimes the basics of the game just get beside you. And so to just really note that, the way they're wrapping up, the way they're bringing guys to the ground, the gap discipline is much better. So already in these first few months that he's really taken over with this defense, you can see noticeable improvements that I think will only continue to grow and get better as we head to the summer and then eventually to fall camp. And then once we get LSU in Death Valley, that'll be a lot of fun to see where this defense has truly grown in that time span.
Speaking of the defense, Grayson, a nice play by Vic Burley and a goal line stand. I thought, man, he just smash mouth kind of guy, as you can see on the stream here. Fans should expect what out of Vic Burley in 2025?
Hey, he was someone last week I thought had a chance to really step up, and especially given the way the spring game usually is formatted, you get the starters in for a little bit, and then you throw in some of the guys that need the experience, need the reps, and Burley has been one that I think the staff's really excited about. It's just a matter of keeping him on the field. And so when you bring in DeMonte Capehart back, you still have Peter Woods. Amari Adams has been a name that has really flashed. I think this is a spring where Burley was able to stay healthy and really contribute to that rotation. Depth is going to be an absolutely important piece when the season gets extended. You play 15, 16, 17 games. You're going to want someone like Victor Burley to go out there and play meaningful snaps. I think he's certainly capable on a talent standpoint, but for him, it's all about staying healthy. I think that's a big play to remind fans of the talent that he was when Clemson recruited him initially. And I look at Ronan Hannafin there on that play, too, with the helmet flying off. Yeah. He was someone that felt like he was shot out of a cannon on Saturday, just wants to go hit somebody.
You can find Grayson on Twitter at Gray_man with 2 N's 21. What can you tell us about the transfer out of Tavoy Fagan, cornerback? Is this more of a depth chart issue, a playing time decision? Can you give us more on the why there?
I think when it comes to it with the transfer portal, some of these kids just want to play. And with the way things had been sort of panning out, I don't believe Sweeney was too thrilled with how the depth at that position was looking, and he really challenged them in early March to say, we need you guys to play a little bit better, and it ultimately really wasn't producing. I think this makes sense probably for both parties, where you get a guy that maybe isn't exactly pleased with his role, isn't likely to improve as the fall and the calendar begins to tick closer to that. So I think for him, getting to that stage and entering the transfer portal, which will be official in about 8 days here, I think that makes sense for Clemson. Also, would it be a bad move for them to either go replace him, get another cornerback in the portal just to continue to add to that depth? Can't stress that enough. No matter where I am, where I'm speaking, depth is that word that's going to win teams national championships from here on out. And the more bodies you can have out there that can play quality football, the better.
Grayson, what did Davo Sweeney say post-practice, post-spring game that you really stood out to you?
I think the matter of just the usual spring game isms where it's, we're not really here quite yet. But the one that stood out to me certainly was just the story behind Adam Randall and someone that's continued to work towards this progression along with other guys who it's sort of this mix of storytelling with him. And if you get him to sit down and really explain some of these players, the ones that he was most pleased with were Randall and Tristan Smith, who have just been thrown, a lot's been thrown at them, particularly Smith out of the portal, coming out of the FCS. We had reported that the first day of practice for him wasn't particularly phenomenal, didn't really blow anybody away. And more that you talk to players, they say, man, this is the happiest guy in the room. He's brought a real infectious energy, and he's making plays left and right. So you talk to guys like TJ Parker, who says this is nothing new. And then Sweeney follows that up with, he's continued to make plays. He's going to be pivotal for us. This was a big spring for him. And then just with the more positive notes that he will remark about the running back room, those were the comments that stuck out to me, and just a general mesh of 40 minutes where you get a lot thrown at you. And I think that's great for him, where he was able to give us a lot of information. But those few players that had those particular days, especially Smith, just to hear Sweeney reiterate those comments, I think were big.
Grayson Mann of TigerNet joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Sort of back to the beginning of the conversation, we were talking about, we even talked about this last week, about spring games and their viability in the future. What can you tell us about, the profitability of spring games as they stand right now, and if what I feel is the inevitable of teams playing other teams, which will turn into home and home. So you'd have a spring game this year on campus. You wouldn't have one on on campus next year. Do you think that in the future, the people who are starting to think about and organize these things believe that it can essentially double and generate double the revenue that it does now, so that you can still be economically viable to have these things every other year?
I think the history of the spring game, we're going to see it evolve into something completely different in the next 5 years. Maybe even next year we'll see a different thing. I do love the idea of a home-and-home scrimmage series where you sort of treat it like the NFL preseason. I think for media and fans alike, you can get a lot more information when, let's say, Clemson scrimmages with West Virginia, for example, just throwing out the first team that comes to mind, and you get to see good on good. You get to see how different offense operates, a different scheme instead of, well, we've seen Tom Allen's scheme for the last 3 months. We know exactly where to go with this, versus we haven't really seen what West Virginia operates. We don't really see how they do. How do you combat a certain look versus this? And so I think for logistically, I think that makes sense. And I think that'd be really consumable for the fan. In terms of money and profits and viability, I've never seen the spring game as this huge moneymaker, especially when the crowd is exited by halftime. You're not really getting as many folks in the building, just because of the nature of it's a glorified scrimmage. But maybe that's your way. That's your path to enticing fans, where, let's say, Clemson plays Colorado, and you want to get a look at Coach Prime's team in the spring before everybody else. Well, come to Clemson and figure it out. Or you want to get a look at where Georgia's at, go see them play Alabama in a spring series. They're going to have some open practices to the fans, sort of how the NFL does it. So there's options out there. The NCAA is being a little bit, I think, they've become public enemy number one, and you've had Mike Gundy come out and say, what is the NCAA really going to do about this? We're just going to go ahead and do it anyways. What can they really do? Sort of testing the power that the NCAA may or may not have. It's all fascinating conversation for sure, but I would love to see that direction with some scrimmages. Treat it like the NFL preseason. There's ways to prevent injury, and there's ways to really generate interest.
Grayson, you could have said anybody but West Virginia. I mean, I think there will always be a little bit of a sore spot there with Clemson fans. Right? Kevin Steele, I mean, could you have picked anybody else there?
You know, I have a Celtics hat by my computer in Missoula, West Virginia. Like, that sort of just
They just scored again, by the way, I think.
That's right. I mean, hey.
How many? God, that was so long ago. I shouldn't bring that up. I shouldn't, but they scored 4.5 million points. How about the beer sales? Any word from Davo or Graham Neff of how that went? It was kind of a test on Saturday.
Well, I got to talk to a couple people that got to experience it. I think there was a little bit of I think the cutoff was at halftime, and it was just interesting to see fans walking around with these giant cans. And, you know, there's a lot of smiles. And so it was a relatively nice day out. So there's no 95-degree guys that are overdoing it with a bunch of alcohol in their system as the sun's beaming down on them. But in terms of comments from Dabo, Sweeney, or Graham Neff, haven't really heard anything on that front. Again, not really too invested on the alcohol sales from my standpoint. No one's going to be handing me a beer while I'm working out there. But I think a lot of fans really have enjoyed it. And I think they're excited for baseball this week. Gardner-Webb tomorrow. Some people are going to get to experience that in DKS for the first time. I know Eric Bakich sort of jumped the gun on that in the winter, but we'll get to see all that take place now, and it'll be interesting to talk to more people and learn about how this process is really dragged out. It's the piloted version, I'm pretty sure, so I'm not entirely sure what that means. Maybe it's a limited sale. They're doing it for XYZ amount of time and then seeing how it goes, but a fascinating asset for Clemson to have.
Grayson, always appreciate you, man. Fantastic stuff. Do you have a Masters pick you want to leave with us?
Oh, guys, I'm not huge into golf.
You're not? Okay. I'm not either. I'm not either. So join the club. I'm not either.
I'll maybe tune in for a bit, but I have just never been.
Yeah.
This time of year, I'm focused on the NBA playoffs and then just whatever I'm required to do for my job. So.
Okay, how about that then? How about
these guys to defend the title?
Yeah, that's going to happen. There's nobody that's going to touch them. What about Malone getting fired today? I mean, that was huge, right?
Gosh. Yeah, I was about to leave to grab some lunch, and I see the Shamaria bomb on Twitter, and I'm thinking, is this guy been hacked again? Or this like the Luka Doncic news, where one of the more successful teams in the NBA in the decade?
He's a good coach.
Yeah.
Really good coach.
Man.
I don't know, man.
Unbelievable stuff.
We'll see. I do like your Celtics to repeat, though. I really do. I think you're in good shape. I think you're in good shape. Hey, always appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys.
Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com. Even though he's a Celtics fan.
Nobody's perfect. People are complimenting his clean-cut look, his nice hairstyle, and then he has to
He's
ruin
as
it
close
by
to
being
a perfect,
fan.
though, as you can. I mean, when I think perfect, I think Grayson Mann's pretty close to it. JB says, yeah, that 70-33, 2012 Orange Bowl. That was what I was referencing there, JB. I didn't realize it was 2012. Didn't seem – I was going to guess 2014 or so, but
I think that's more points than West Virginia had scored all season.
It was probably close. I remember that like it was yesterday, man. I do. It was Clemson fans. If you remember the play that led to it all, Clemson was about to score on the goal line, going in, fumbled, 100 yards, gone, and yeah, that was a rough one, a brutal one, as you might say. You know, it's interesting to ask people. I don't know if it's a 50-50 split or not in terms of how many sports writers are in the golf. There's not as many as you would think, you know? Like, I think the golf guys love it. The golf guys love the Masters this week. But I don't know. If we polled the audience today, how many of our Tolos would say they are excited about the Masters? Would it be 50%? We had Grayson Mann on. You just heard him. I want to say thanks to Grayson for hopping on with us. We talked Clemson Spring Game on the stream at 4 o'clock. If you were watching, you saw some of those videos, and we'll dive back into that right now while I have the video loaded into the system for you Clemson fans out there that did not get a good look at the spring game this past Saturday. Good news. Well, you say, Cole, you couldn't watch it. No, you couldn't. But if you watched the stream, we're live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There are 124 Tolos watching right now. You can see some of those plays that I'm about to throw up on there already. First of all, Diesel, it was, like you said, it's a spring game, spring practice. Not a bad crowd. I thought that for the most part, it was on par with last year's. Here was a shot I got of the crowd going in to the stadium. Pretty good crowd. I think this was after Tiger Walk. So as you can see here, you know, it's for spring.
It's a good amount.
It's a good amount. It's free, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. You can take your kids, and not to joke, people who don't have the money during the college football season to take their family, right? You can take your kids to a spring game or a football game and see the team and not have to pay anything. So for a lot of people out there, it's probably a big deal. You know what? It's just, for us, it's not.
That's one of the potential big downsides to playing another team in your spring game. Is it won't be free anymore. I mean, even if it's $5, I mean, who knows? I mean, you know, if it starts at $5, it'll be $50 within 10 years.
Yeah. So let's go through a few of these. I will, again, if you're on the stream watching, I'll roll through a few of these clips and we'll talk about what happened. I did remember that I have to remove the sound. So earlier we heard a little bit of Dabo yelling Diesel. But this play, by the way, can we just start by saying for all those Android users out there, this is why you go Team iPhone. I'm sitting in the press box. You know how high and far away the press box is at Clemson. And I'm sitting there with my little old iPhone videoing. And for those on the stream watching, I mean, I'm not saying that's television quality. But for a cell phone, Diesel, to be able to zoom in that far and get that quality of a...
Don't you love when the Facebook memories pop up and you realize, oh, man, phones really have come a long way.
They've gotten so much better.
Something from like 10 years ago, it's grainy and you can't see a thing, and then all of a sudden, bam, that from that distance is incredible. You can almost read the name on the back of the jersey.
You literally can. So this play was the Cade Klubnik interception that South Carolina fans loved on Twitter, by the way. Diesel, I don't know if you know, but I tweeted this out.
The rivalry is real?
Oh, let's see how many impressions. 80,000 impressions on one video. I mean, South Carolina fans ate it alive. So, look, you asked Grayson about it. Make a lot of it. I don't make a ton of it. Or I guess the question, do you make a lot of it, Diesel? I don't make a ton of it. It wasn't a great throw. I didn't do the best job with my video here. I think, Cade, I'm going to stop it here. I think he overthrows it. You can't see the receiver. I also think, from what I was told by someone else in the booth or in the press box, that the route was a little underran, if you will. Mm-hmm. So I think you add in the fact that Cade put a little too much on it. As you can see on the stream, Khalil Barnes got it, ran it back. Obviously, look, Cade's going to throw an interception, and it's going to be talked about because it's spring. We need something to talk about. I'm glad he threw the interception, but I don't make a ton of it, Diesel. Look, it's the time of the year where you can make all the mistakes in the world and it doesn't cost you, right? It doesn't cost you a single thing right now. So, good play, though, by Khalil Barnes. We'll see. All right, this next play. Let's see what we have. I apologize. I did not label these. Here's a nice throw by Christopher Zena. Eventually step into his role. Christopher Zena didn't look bad on Saturday in the spring game. You see him going to the right here. He makes a Tristan Smith, who I think had the best day on Saturday. The Clemson fan that's a friend of mine asked me what the most impressed with. And it's a good throw. I mean, Zena rolls out, the pressure comes, and he puts it right where he needs to put it. Fields coming in and the depth that Clemson has at quarterback this year. I don't know if he'll see the field much, maybe in some cleanup time. But I was really impressed by this, man. We talked about this with Grayson earlier. Vic Burley, Diesel, in my mind, has the chance to have a breakout season for Clemson. A run here, handoff by Vizina, and Vic Burley just comes in and smashes them. Smashes them. Look how big Burley is, too, D.
And who is this 24, the running back? Do you know his name?
24, the running back. Yes, that is, let's see here. I tweeted out the video.
He gets up a little slow. That's a big dude that just fell on him.
He does get up a little. That was David Izume.
Okay.
David Izume. Tyler Venables is the other 24. But David Izume was the running back here that got the ball from Vizina, as you can see. I think Clemson's defensive line is going to be solid this year. People are worried about guys who graduated, but you add in Vic Burley with Peter Woods. Diesel, I don't think people realize the size that Vic Burley has. I go back to what Clemson called the Power Rangers defense from a few years ago with Christian Wilkins and those guys. I mean, that dude is huge coming through that line. And as you see on this play here, it wasn't terrible protection. He just blew it up. Blew it up. So that's a positive.
Yeah, he comes in from the right side, moves laterally across that line, and gets a big hit, big stop there. Because, another step and running back is gone.
Yeah.
He's in the end zone, but he's able to close quickly and make a big stop.
So, Diesel, one thing that Clemson fans ate up on my tweets over the weekend. Chris Denson, quarterback for Clemson. He comes in Saturday, and he makes a few nice plays to start off. Mm-hmm. Makes a few really nice throws, and all of a sudden, bing, 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 Twitter just, whoa, Chris Denson. This guy, again, it's a spring game. It's precious. But he made some plays. Here's a video of him if you're watching on. Oh, this was a design quarterback keeper. So, this is the reason I brought this up. Somebody asked me, if you can't hit the quarterback, why do you run a design quarterback keeper in a spring game? Valid question. Blocking assignments. That's why. That play right there that you're watching is all for the offensive line. And they did a bad job, by the way. As you can see right here, it's already defensive linemen in the backfield. But that play is ran for blocking assignments to be learned. That's why you're running the spring. Even though you can't touch the guy, that's why you're running. So that was a design quarterback keeper there. Let's see what this one was. Was this Chris Denson as well? It was. So Chris Denson got some good passes in, man. He's got a quick arm, quick release. I like his ability to read the defense as quickly as he does. Every pass he made, Diesel, Saturday, it seems like he just gets the ball out quick. And this is a guy that there's a lot of Clemson fans out there, man, that are really excited about. And this next clip is Denson makes a sideline throw here from about the 30, 25-yard line. First down. I thought he did a lot of good things. I really did. Chris Denson, keep an eye on that name if you're a Clemson Tiger fan.
He is, I would assume, a freshman.
That's right.
Okay. That's gonna be interesting to watch though, because Trent Pierman is a junior.
Yeah.
Cade Klubnik will graduate. Christopher Vizina listed as a sophomore. So this is going to be.
I think he's from Palm. I'm not looking right now, but I think he's from somewhere in Florida.
Yeah, Plant City. I happen to have the roster up right now.
Plant City. It is Florida?
Correct.
So he was highly recruited coming out of high school, and he's got the intangibles. Like you watch him, you think this guy could be good one day. This guy could be really good one day. So we'll see. We'll see. And again,
6 quarterbacks on the roster right now.
It's a lot.
Good luck hanging on to him, right?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, that's going to be. Cade's gone, and then whose team is it next year? We've seen Christopher Vizina look good at times.
Yeah.
He is the presumptive starter next year. But Trent Pierman,
he's been good too.
He's been good too. And I remember last year, the conversation centered around a big throw that he made in the spring game.
He did look good last year.
And then, of course, forgive me for not knowing much about, freshman quarterback Cabe Trotter.
Right.
Or Ethan Anderson. But
Ethan Anderson, J.L. Mann High School, right here.
Yeah,
that's just spilt water on me.
But so I guess the battle, 2 to 3 years from now could be those 3. But are they going to be willing to stick around and wait? If Chris Denson is as good as people think he is, does he say, you know what, Dabo, thanks for the 1 year of coach him up. I'm going to go somewhere else.
I think he could. You got Tate Reynolds coming in, Diesel, and for those that don't know much about Tate Reynolds is highly touted. I mean, really, really highly touted.
Class of 2026 guy?
Yeah. He's coming in. That's a tough problem to have right there. That is a tough. Here's Peyton Streko with the first touchdown of the day. It was a 75-yard drive, 12 plays. A lot of it had to do with Denson. And here you go, Peyton Streko. Probably won't get a lot of playing time during the season, but nice blocking by the offensive line. Clemson gets on the board for the first time. Let's see. I have two more for you for those watching on the screen. Here's Kate Klubnik. Nothing there. This was just a little ball out. It's about 5 yards. People don't look at that as an important play. However, these Cade rush is something you're watching. Same thing I'm watching. We've seen Cade before, not see anything, kind of squeeze in right there, right, and just let it rip, and turn it to an interception. Does the right thing, gets out of the pocket, and just settles for 5.
It was interesting to watch his decision-making process on that. If you'd hit play for him one more time. So he receives the snap, takes 2 steps back, looks left, runs, maybe I see another opening there, and takes off running again. So that was really quality decision making.
I like seeing the quarterback turn the head, right to left, do the sweep, go through the progressions. He did one there. Again, I know you say Cole's not really a big deal. Well, look, those same instincts that Diesel I'm talking about right there were the instincts that Cade did not have last year against South Carolina at the very end of the game. You remember that Clemson going down with a chance to kick a field goal and tie it. He forces something on the right side, intercepted by Demetrius Knight, and the ball game's over. So instincts are a big part of what you just saw right there. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Pick up your yardage, however you get it. A little short pass here from Cade. I think we'll have with Tristan Smith popping on. I think Cade will have plenty of options at receiver this year. And if they stay healthy, that's the problem last year. Couldn't stay healthy. Receiver. If they stay healthy this year, receiver, you see what they can do with Riley in the spring game. Getting receivers real quick. I think the receivers, Diesel, that's the last one, by the way.
You know what I like about that particular throw, Cole, is he throws it to the receiver's back shoulder to protect it from a pass breakup or an interception. You know, one could argue and say that he was a little behind the receiver on that throw, but also it puts it in a position where his receiver is the only one who can get it.
Look,
it's either going to be incomplete or it's going to be a reception for 5.
I know it's April, and we still have, 4 more months until August? Is that right? May, June, July. Yeah, 4 months, Diesel. I know it's April, but I'm telling you, I think Clemson has the talent there to be really, really good this year. I mean, the
defense is going to matter.
Defense is going to matter. And Tom Allen, man, maybe that's the reinforcement you needed, right? Maybe that's the guy you needed to reinforce it. I think their defensive line is going to be good. Biggest question in April for me is running back position with Adam Randall moving over there. But I love their receivers. And if Cade just does what Cade did for the most part last year, they'll have a really good chance. I think, again, it all comes down to, this is weird to say, but the very first game, just like last year, Diesel, they started off with Georgia. This year, LSU, right off the bat. So we're going to know. We're going to know very, very quickly. That game's at home, by the way, for Clemson. So I think they're going to have a chance to be really, really good as long as they stay healthy, especially at receiver. I don't know. I think Clemson can make a really deep run this year.
Are you looking at possible Final Four and a playoff run?
I can see
kind of
the
good
national championship this year.
Wow.
I just think.
Wow. You
know why? They have a quarterback they have a veteran quarterback who's very seasoned, and that matters. That matters. And if your wide receiving core stays healthy, I think that Clemson's quarterback and receiving combos going into the year are as good as anybody's. They just with the guys they haven't receiving, I think Brian. I mean, they're going to be stacked in that position if they stay healthy. They couldn't do that last year, but yeah, I think they can make a really deep run.
Cole, when we come back, a story that it's going to take a fair amount of tact to cover this story without making it sound like a bunch of dudes ogling hot women. But I do wonder if this may be a tactic used by women's NCAA basketball to get viewership up early and help expose their stars to more people. We'll talk about it next on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. As mentioned earlier during our Daily Wires, the ratings were in for both the men's and women's Final Fours. Women's national championship ratings, I'm sure, are out there. Men's national championship ratings, it's going to take another day or two before those get released, Cole. But men's ratings were fantastic. They were up almost 20% from last year. 15.3 million viewers on CBS tuned in to the two Final Four games. Proof that the Blue Bloods collect eyeballs, right? And that matters, having the big-time brands out there playing. Plus, people just love seeing Duke lose, so that certainly helps when you're, when you find out Duke's on the ropes and people tune in to watch. The women's side, Cole, those numbers are out as well. The women's Final Four averaged 3.9 million viewers, which is a lot. It's the third most watched women's Final Four in history. Absolutely great numbers. Obviously, it's going to be really, really tough to have the kind of numbers that they had last year when Caitlin Clark was in there. 10.8 million viewers last year, 3.9 million viewers this year, Cole. And it's something that, as much as we went after each other yesterday over my opinions about women's college basketball not being the most compelling game, just by virtue of not many of the games in the NCAA tournament were actually close basketball games. Star power is the thing that's going to keep women's college basketball afloat. It's hard to have a generational talent like Caitlin Clark every single year. So I wonder, Cole, if something that now recently graduated star Haley Van Lith has done could actually help the sport. And I know this is facetious. It's very tongue-in-cheek the way I'm presenting this. But Haley Van Lith just appeared in the online edition of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. And, beautiful young lady. She used her God-given good looks to get in Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. And I'm asking this question genuinely not as a misogynistic man. Just wondering, Cole, if more college athletes chose to do this early in their careers, if it may help the game.
Who do you want to get involved in the game? Guys who are older and want to look at
viewers is what matters.
It doesn't matter who they are and what their intentions are.
It's those people will get viewer diaries as well, right? So I mean they are viewers, right? Again, I'm not saying that what you want are horny old dudes who want to ogle cute girls on the basketball court, but I mean let's be completely frank here. There's a lot of beautiful women in women's college basketball, and outside just compartmentalizing those two things, beautiful women in the game, sex sells. Both of those things are true, and I'm just saying,
if she played beach volleyball 100%, the numbers. Now the problem is she doesn't look like that. I'm looking at a picture now. She doesn't look like that when she's playing basketball. That's the problem. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. She's still beautiful. She's still beautiful.
They made a whole movie out of that. It's called League of Their Own, where they had beautiful young girls playing baseball, and they decided, hey, what if we put them through charm school and teach them how to do their hair and look pretty out on the court? And that was sort of the marketing ploy for that very real baseball league back during World War II.
She is a beautiful woman. There's no doubt. I mean, she is. I never knew that swimsuit, and Sports Illustrated were in her future. Yeah. But she's got a future with it. If WNBA doesn't work out, I'm just telling you, she's got a future, and she can probably do pretty well. I did not know that. I don't know where she'll be in the WNBA. I mean, she's going to be a good player. She was really good at TCU. She's a hard worker. She has a great personality. Maybe whatever city she moves to, I'll move to. maybe that's as simple.
What are you going to do? Find out what bars she goes to? Go down there and see if you can, buy her a drink. That's called stalking, Cole.
Who wouldn't want this? I mean, I could get in a swimsuit too.
Hey, we live in an age where many, 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 many young girls are willing to put themselves out there. And, would this help promote the game? Yes. Is it the kind of viewer you want? Maybe yes, maybe no.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting to see this happen.
A Wednesday edition of Only Wire. Wire to Wire. On the way tomorrow, Tolos. You better be there because we'll be there. Diesel will be at Ingles, and TR, I'll be right here in the Ingalls Market studios, and we will see you tomorrow.